And welcome to Beerfield. I am your host at Beerfield Hop with 2 P's, coming to you live from my basement somewhere on the other side of the river from St. Louis. As always, I am joined by my wonderfully esteemed co-host at Beerfield Thury, Dan Thury, coming to you live from outside of his bathroom.
We have like the most boring week to talk about. Nothing tragic happened at all, and everyone that doesn't lie or we're not mocking people for taking mental health seriously. It's been
a week. I mean,
it's been a week.
We fit a season's worth of stuff in the week, and it wasn't even related to the trade deadline, which I expected to be a little bit more insane than what it was. I mean, we got key injuries to talk about. We've got key criminal activity to talk about. We've got tragic events to talk about. We've got lying to talk about. We've got people forcing their way out of situations to talk about. We've got more injuries to talk about. We've got COVID to talk about. Like, we didn't even have to try to write this week's episode because the NFL was nice enough to write it for us.
Yeah, it's one of those scenes that, at times we often ask ourselves, like, what's today's topic going to be? What do you want to talk about outside of, doing our normal game previews? And it was like, all right.
It didn't have to do
Thanks,
that.
Thanks, NFL, for doing it for us. I mean, we didn't ask for all of it, but we'll take it.
I was sitting here. I was sitting here even before Monday, like, all right, there's some key, sitting there Sunday after I got home from another long weekend of work thinking, all right, there's some key things to talk about. We're going to have to talk about the Derrick Henry injury and what you do about that. We're going to have to talk about, spend a little bit of time on Ridley and mental health because it's something this show takes seriously. But then, probably fit in a short segment on, maybe league winners rest of year or revisiting some schedules, looking at surprises halfway through the season because we did it at the quarter point mark. Who's trended up, who's trended down, that type of analysis. That's just going to have to wait a little bit because all hell broke loose. We have plenty to get to. We're of course we're gonna talk Henry Ruggs. We're gonna talk that situation. We're gonna talk Odell Beckham. We're gonna talk Aaron Rodgers, Derrick Henry, Calvin Ridley, and I'm sure there are others that I'm forgetting. You've got bye weeks this week. It's kind of a bipocalypse type of scenario. You've got Michael Thomas. Somehow that's not the second thing on this list, but we've got to give some analysis. I mean, there's plenty to get into here. First and foremost, I've got a little liquor store owner rant.
Do it.
So, hold on. YouTube, Beerfield Fantasy. You can see that I just took a dramatic drink.
Dramatic drink. Dun, dun, dun.
Sorry, Beerfield Podcast. So, usually, a couple different way liquor store owners handle bourbon and allocated bottles. Dan, you're well aware of this. You worked in a liquor store.
Very well.
You can do it the way that Benny's does it. And a lot of people choose to do it this way where it's customer loyalty based. The management sees people that they know, that they trust, that they know patronize the store, that they have a good relationship with, and will offer things up based on that. So that's one way that is very positively viewed of going about it. You can go through raffles and loyalty reward giveaways, which is kind of how Total Wine does it. Another big, regional type of chain store. They're more nationwide, but I mean, where, you buy things on your rewards card and, if you hit a certain level, you're entered into raffle giveaways. Randall's around here does something similar, but they do it month to month with their VIPs. You've got, even mom and pops, like, Ryan at Dean's does it the same way that Benny's does it, and Bobby, the Lebanon Wine and Spirits around here, does it the same way that Benny's does it. But then you have Narav down at A1 that does a little hybrid of both. He does a big Christmas giveaway based on barrel picks of his that you purchase from, October through the drawing, essentially, versus, I think Dean's does a big Christmas giveaway. I mean, there's all that's based on raffle tickets. I mean, it's either loyalty or raffle tickets. And then there's the other way. And the other way is bottles are acquired through either legitimate or very sketchy means and then are price gouged. And the fact of that is that you're going to reap what you sow when you do that, right? I run a bourbon group of 9,000 people. If you are found to be price gouging, they're going to go in there and they're going to talk, and people are going to pile on and talk shit about the fact that you're price gouging. Word gets around. Right?
Yep.
And there was a post out there that just said, saw these sitting at a liquor store in St. Charles, too rich for my blood. That's it. That's the post. Nothing wrong with that. Didn't even call out where it was. Just said it was too rich for his blood. Well, the problem is people immediately knew where it was.
Oh, no.
And started to just not really talk shit, just kind of pile on about how high priced they were. And the owner or somebody associated with it or whatever decides to come in and just start throwing haymakers.
No, that's never the right decision.
Well, I threw one back, but I mean,
well,
basically
fair.
what it boils down to is this. You have a right to run your business how you want to, but the way that you treat your customers is going to dictate the quality and type of customers that you have. He might have gone to Ohio, bought these bottles, taken them back, put them on the store shelf to sell it 4 times the price, which is highly illegal, at least in Illinois. He's in Missouri.
Massively.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's illegal there, too. I'm pretty sure you have to go through the 3-tier system, but there's a rumor to that. Not confirmed. Be very clear, that is not confirmed that is how that happened. But in any business, what you put out there is going to be scrutinized or complimented. Being an owner that's doubling down on the feedback you're getting, the negative feedback you're getting from people that have patronized your business is not going to do you any favors. So, to any aspiring business owners out there, business people or customer service people out there, just a word of advice that when people are being constructive about things, coming out there and being pissy about it, you're not going to help your customer base any. You're going to go out of business that way.
Especially if done in a way where you're attacking, right? I get scenarios.
I think there was something about a pussy keyboard warrior that got called out there.
Oh. Yeah, if your business model in response to social media posts is to go about your way of trying to give it back, just be advised that you're likely going to lose a lot of customers. I mean, that's just how retail works, whether it's in person or it's over the computer or over your phone or wherever you're at. You worked in retail, so what's longer than I did. You know exactly. And you worked in a retail position that is significantly worse than a liquor store. No retail jobs are great. No one loves their retail job. Liquor stores just happen to be the retail job that gets the least amount of negative situations. But, as someone who ran a beer department, I heard it all the time about prices, regardless of if they found it cheaper elsewhere. The response isn't to go on a negative rant towards your customers who are just simply pointed that out. Yeah, it's not gonna. If you're already disliked with high prices compared to your competitors, good luck. That's about it. You better find ways to rectify the situation very, very quickly, especially with holiday season coming around, where a lot of these businesses will make their profits based around this time.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's allocated season, right? So
yeah, it's be next season, baby.
Right.
All the rare shit's coming out, and it's there's always talks.
It's tater season.
Yeah, that's right. Shit. There's always talks about how these should be handled and what is the proper way to handle these rare items or these desirable items, especially in the bourbon community and just in general. Bourbon County release for all the craft beer nuts, or just how breweries do their small releases of theirs. I don't know if there's a perfect way. There are definitely wrong ways to do it, but I don't know if there's a perfect way. And wow, how Benny's operated, I've heard feedback both negative and positive. I've always thought it was the fairest way, and especially how they handle their stuff when it comes to like Pappy and stuff like that. They're super rare stuff. It's point blank and dry. They tell you, or the manager will tell you straight to your face. They will look up your account and they'll see if you've been loyal, and then they'll let you know. They're not required to sell it to you. So,
for sure. Also, my apologies if you're on YouTube. I was dorking with the view and totally blacked out the screen there briefly.
Ah.
All right, now that we talked about alcohol.
What's fueling Beerfield?
Reasons the Kinsey's the best. I totally just slapped this thing across the bottom, and all it did was slide across my desk safely into my other hand. All right. So I am drinking Thomas S. More. Their port cast finish. So Thomas S. More is a premium finished line from Barton 1792. It was brand new earlier this year. They have 3 expressions. They have a Chardonnay finish, a port finish, and a Cab Sauv finished. Stubborn German. Shout out Chris and the crew there. By the way, check out the Stubborn German podcast. If you haven't, it's actually pretty interesting, even if you've never patronized the business. But anyway, they had a vertical of these last week for $12 for a flight of 3. So
nice,
really good price on them. I happen to have had a couple bottles that I'd barely touched. I think this one was down in Kentucky with me and got open there. But as you can see, like, hadn't really taken a lot out of it. So got to try them. The Cab Sauv was my favorite of the bunch, but it's not opened yet, and I didn't want to open something new just because I have so much open already. So going with the port cask, Thomas S. More, for this show.
I'm drinking something it's been on the show before. Not this particular. Well, actually, no, I lied. This one was on the show recently. It's from an unknown brewery that doesn't actually have a name. In fact, when you look at the bottle,
damn, the guy should really work on that.
It's literally just empty. It's literally just see-through and clear with no specification. I'm drinking Hopper's homebrew that he kindly gifted to me last Friday when I was down in this neck of the woods.
So I guess I really have to give the specs and the details on that one then, huh?
I mean, you had it on this show when you did your side-by-side with the Big Muddy S'more Stout.
And that was fresher then. So I'll wait till the review to get into that and how I think it's evolved since then. But no, specs on that one, it's a peanut butter chocolate sweet stout. It was a split batch that me and a buddy from my homebrew club did. It's one of the 7 beers that drove us to second at Brew in the Lou. Now, some variances between mine and his because it was a split batch. You know, we brewed it together. He fermented his, I fermented mine, and then the adjuncts were added on our own. So a little variance on that front. But it's got, I think it checks in at about 5.5%, 6%. And
sounds about right.
Yeah, I mean the only adjunct we used in it was peanut butter extract. The chocolate and everything is all from grains. So.
Also, fun fact
lactose.
for people who do not know, peanut butter extract does not contain peanuts.
It does not.
So if you have a peanut allergy, and the reason I know this, and I very much know this, is because that's what Distill uses in their peanut butter porter.
Mm-hmm.
It's very important to know that. There are different ways to go about getting a certain taste profile that isn't just adding said profile to it. So for those of you out there that are wondering, not all peanut butter beers are going to have peanuts in them.
Yeah, I thought I had it sitting nearby here. Apparently I don't. But yeah, it's just a little liquid, like kind of like vanilla extract or whatever, like you'd use for baking. Comes in like a bottle about yay big. So
yeah.
Supposed to add 4 ounces to 5 gallons. Don't do that. It's very strong. There's actually 2 ways to get peanut butter out of beer. It's that and PB2. PB2 is more of a powder that you add, but a lot of people that I've never personally used it, a lot of people I have talked to don't like using PB2 because it gives it like a gritty kind of mouthfeel, almost like
Sure.
you put sand in your beer, because it does.
Ooh.
So, just gives it a mouthfeel they didn't really like. So most people lean towards the extract.
Yeah.
All right. A little bit to get into. Do you
Just
want to
a little.
start? So I think we got to start with Ridley and Ruggs in some order. So in what order do you want to?
I think let's start with Ridley. I know I have it's not the most popular opinions of tie-ins between the two around mental health, but really I think the video response from Marcellus Wiley, which has thankfully received a lot of negative backlash, especially from the two of us, I think ties into why you have to treat mental health more seriously. So I'd say we'll start with Ridley, and then we'll get to the saddest news of the week.
All right. So Calvin Ridley. First off, let's focus on what is and what isn't here. So Calvin Ridley, after taking time away for personal reasons, he did play one game in the middle of the 2 games he missed, and there was a bye week in there. Announced that he was stepping away from the game of football. It was not a retirement. There has been no timetable given on how long that could be. And I don't know that it would be fair to give that a timetable. I'm guessing it's going to be until he is right with it. But he has stepped away temporarily. There are a lot of people that are going out and, trying to trade Calvin Ridley right now and get anything for him from people that still believe that he's going to play. You're not wrong for doing that. He's young enough in his career to where I think that this is not the end of the line for him. So I don't look at this and say, jump off the ship. It's more of a hold window unless you have somebody that really believes in it or you were already going to be selling. I mean, this is a low value point. I want to get that out of the way first so we can focus on the real issues here.
I agree.
So the Marcellus Wiley take is toxic masculinity at its finest. And I think that when I was listening to it, if you haven't listened to it, we both retweeted it at Beerfield Hop at Beerfuel30. Didn't retweet it from the show account because I got a new phone today, and I actually have to log back into the show account. I couldn't remember the password. I got to pull it out.
You're in my boat when I bought my new phone back in April.
Right. So I'll remember to do it though before.
I will do it when we're done here.
So
I have the show account linked again.
So anyway, it sounded in listening to that to me like it was somebody that doesn't quite understand how it works, right? You got the toxic masculinity of you have to do with it and you've got to be mentally tough and that old school, football mentality type of thing. But, he mentioned that, something he told his daughter. He put a personal story to it, which is why I don't think he was coming from a place of being malicious necessarily.
It sounded more tone deaf. Like
it was
like
tone deaf.
Is very tone deaf to the situation and just trying to use what he learned. I mean, this is a product of growing up in different generations, and just thinking that your way is the only way. And
he read a quote from his.
I think you're right though. Like I don't think. Yeah,
he read a quote that was give it to him in 1983, commending mental toughness and. Times have changed in the last 30 years, right?
Yeah,
30 plus.
Exactly.
And commending mental toughness, and that's what you wanted. But, that's something that has come out later on that, that was also a time where you were commended for playing through concussions because we didn't believe in TBIs. So things have changed since then, and they've changed for the better, and they've lended more towards taking care of yourself. The personal story he told about his daughter is somebody that has his own mental health struggles, as I've talked about on this show numerous times, that are very impacted by external influences, which is why they've been generally better the last couple of years. It wasn't bad advice if that's what's going on, but you can't assume that that's what it is. I mean, the advice of, break it down so it doesn't all stack up on you. If you do have a lot of external stressors happening, that's pretty good. Focus on one thing. Tune out the rest of it. Don't let it build up, and don't drown under all the little stuff. That's very good advice from a father to a daughter who was dealing with a lot of external influences. But where it gets dangerous and toxic is when you're assuming that that's what Calvin Ridley is going through and that there's not more to it. But then also the rest of the tone of essentially saying he's not mentally tough. Now, he did say he's not mentally tough, and that's okay, but painting somebody as mentally weak for taking care of themselves and doing something when they know they're going to be scrutinized like by somebody like Marcellus Wiley, a talking head on TV now. Are you really that wrong? I mean, are you right? Or are they more mentally tough than you could ever be because they could make that decision that they need to take care of themselves? And
that's where I'm at about it. I think really, I applauded really. I think he's more mentally strong for it. And we go, I mean, a lot of us, deal with it in different ways for different reasons, a lot of external factors that compound with the internal factors that come with it. And the both of us, I know it may be shocking. We're not professional athletes. We don't completely understand the true amount of external factors. And this was pointed out by Marcus Grant. I believe he's part of the NFL Network. And he had a long thread on Twitter that truly commended Ridley for what he did and how, as us and as a community from small to large, not just with fantasy, but as a whole, we're not paid. There's a lot of people that are paid, but we're not paid to talk about a player's ability on and off the field. We're not paid to give our opinions on it. But the effect of it is still out there. We still put it on Twitter, on our social media accounts. We have a podcast. We talk about it. We're on YouTube with the video live talking about it as well. And he could happen to stumble upon this in the middle of us, giving a take on how poor he plays, and that compounding effect will eventually hit a person in a different way that they may think that they may never get. It doesn't mean they're mentally weak. It just speaks to the issues as a society, I think, that we've reached with just, we're so comfortable with talking shit about people and without thinking of the consequences that could come with it.
Yeah. And one other thing Marcellus Wiley said, and I do want to touch on the consequences that come with what our words say and what we do as a community, but one other thing that Marcellus Wiley said that I want to touch on here real quick is comparing it to physical injuries and physical toughness. Okay, so if you have a hamstring injury, right? This is what I tweeted. Hold on.
Yeah, I saw it. Yep.
All right, so if you have a hamstring injury, right, and you hurt your hamstring, you're gonna shut it down maybe for a couple weeks, and then you're gonna return to practice, and then you're going to work back up gradually. You're gonna give that injury time to heal. You're going to rehab it in that time, and you are going to take the steps that you need to take to get that back right. And you may play through some of it, but if there's a point where you can't play through it anymore, you're not going to keep playing on it. You're going to hurt yourself worse. You're going to end up in a worse position. So to me, that was a piss-poor analogy. If you're going to compare mental toughness to physical toughness, and it's okay to it's not okay, well, what do you do when you're physically injured? You take the time off to rehab, and you're working on it, and you're working on getting back. That's what Ridley's doing for his mental health. He's taking the time off to rehab it. He's clearing the noise so that he can rehab it and work on it and come back stronger and better than ever. And to base your whole argument on toughness and then make the argument that, make the Kevin Durant comparison, right? About how he couldn't bench press, but he found a way to deal with it. He wasn't physically strong, and that's okay. And Calvin Ridley's not mentally strong, and that's okay. Like, if you're gonna compare it to physical toughness or an injury or something physical, he is damaged mentally. Just like if you go out there and pop a hammy, damaged physically. We have a list of players right now not practicing because they're damaged physically. They're taking time to rest and rehab that injury so that they can get back on the field. And that is what Calvin Ridley is doing, but he's doing it for his mental health, and that is okay, and that should be commended. Now, as a community, here's the thing. In most analysts' are not guilty on this. I mean, you can talk about somebody's performance being disappointed or whatever, and you're fine. A lot of casual players that go out there and will tweet at somebody about how shit their performance was, or you hurt my fantasy team. For everybody that has the gall and just stands up and says, I don't give a shit about your fantasy team, I give a shit about my real team. First off, good for them. Second off, there's something very important to remember about fantasy football. Your worth to your real team, what you're paid to do, does not always translate to your fantasy football worth. So if somebody duds your team, you're tweeting at them about how terrible they played or how bad they did, get the fuck out of here. You don't know what their assignments were. You don't know if, somebody like Calvin Ridley or another wide receiver one on a team is drawing top coverage, opening up the rest of their teammates, which is a contribution to the team. You don't know if a guy like George Kittle was asked to stay in and block more so that the quarterback had time to throw and get to Deebo Samuel or Brandon Ayuk, right?
Yep.
He might not. You don't get fantasy points because he blocked well. You might be tweeting at him that he had a shit game and he sucks, but guess what? To his team, he doesn't. He's valuable in what he's doing. Offensive lineman. We don't talk about him a lot, but you bet your ass that we're talking about the reason Justin Fields and Allen Robinson haven't been good because the Bears can't block anything.
The second most important position in football is left tackle.
Right.
Or I guess in Tua's case, right tackle. Your blind side. Right side blocker.
Right.
The guy that's protecting your ass, generally in pass protection, in a league that has become more and more pass heavy. Mm-hmm. The most important position, the second most, and some would argue even more important.
Right. So keep that in check and think about it before you go blow up on somebody and tell them that they suck, that they're terrible. Nobody in the NFL sucks.
No, they're 1% athletes.
Nobody that's made the NFL sucks. Kalen Ballage does not suck as a football player. He sucks as a fantasy player, right? I mean,
yeah, true.
That's basically what it boils down to. You made the NFL, you don't suck as a football player. Now, when graded amongst your peers, you might. But you don't suck in general. When you're Calvin Ridley is the one on a team and has had many productive seasons, the fact that I didn't see the report that Marcellus Wiley referenced, that it was a lot of Twitter influence shit, could be better.
And yeah, I saw nothing about it. And to your point, who fucking cares if they had a bad game? Like, first off, you don't probably know what would be considered a terrible game because you're probably reading stats and trying to make up your case based on what production the fucking box score says. And when you're watching football, you may miss an assignment. It happens constantly. There's a lot of things from the very small nuances that I still don't know that I'm still learning. I've been paying attention and trying to play football for a long time.
AJ Green stopped on a route, but
yeah, like it happens. Like at the end of the day, it's your words will not help. There's nothing you can do. From tweeting at him,
I gotta go play better for John's fantasy team now.
Yeah, like I'm glad to see there's a lot more professional athletes embracing fantasy football. It's a great match made in heaven. Fantasy football in general has done absolute wonders for the professional sport, for the exposure. I get it. It pisses off a lot of people and players. Don't tweet at them. Do not fucking DM them death threats and horrible things because they did something wrong. You are a fucking vile person for doing that.
Yeah. That's the reason people like Julian Edelman are tweeting their fantasy rosters and saying, I am lost. Guys that played in the NFL for years that know football better than any of us could ever dream of knowing football. Because fantasy isn't football.
It's fake football that we bet on.
Fantasy.
I mean, fuck, there was a whole thread yesterday, immense to Henry Rugg stuff about luck. About not Andrew Luck, but the luck or skill that's involved in fantasy. Whole bunch of threads. Whole bunch of conversation about it.
All you're doing is hedging your bets week to week on how well someone is likely to do based on data, right? So
your process, whether you watch, a film or input data, you're basically going through your process, but at the game by game level, you have zero control on how these players play.
Yep.
Absolutely none.
None. And that's why nobody's perfect. That's why people say, well, you're a fantasy analyst. Well, I've never had this said to me. You're a fantasy analyst. Shouldn't you win every game?
Yeah,
no,
right? Like,
because
no.
I can't predict that Derrick Henry is going to go out there and break his foot.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, you can't predict that a player would take it upon themselves to treat their mental health with a lot of respect and step away from the game. We can't predict that an organization would fail to help protect his quarterback for multiple years and injuries. It took his career away. We can't predict that shit.
No.
We can't predict if they can't read a fucking playbook either. Shit happens.
And 5 years later, they emerge as a viable option.
Yeah.
More on that.
I love football. But to the
more on that in a minute.
Yeah. You have anything else you want to say before we get to the darker side of?
No, not about Ridley, other than what we've already said, which is that I hope he gets it right. I hope for the best, and I hope he comes back. He comes back refreshed and strong, and gets the tools he needs and is ready to go.
Yeah, I truly hope that whatever he's going through isn't able to take away his, for reaching his goal. Like, he got to the highest point of his profession that many of us would dream to do.
He's a very good player with a long road ahead of him.
So we'll speak about Ruggs, and the way why I wanted to transition this. I know it's very popular right now to completely dunk on Ruggs, and Ruggs deserves everything that comes at him. He deserves for a lot of the things he said, a lot of the things that are being said. What I have a hard time understanding is how does someone get to this point? 156 miles an hour, over double the blood alcohol content that's legal on a residential road. And I have a hard time. It's hard for me not to come off of what is he dealing with? He lost his best friend 5 years prior in March to a similar accident. He recognizes him for every touchdown he scores. He speaks on that. How can a person who speaks so against this is now the reason why a young woman and her dog lost their lives?
The dog.
And I couldn't imagine. We got to have the dog deserves to be a part of it.
It's like
too.
When the dog in John Wick died.
Yeah, it's just what is going through their head? I can't sit there and say he's just young and dumb. I'm fucking Kadarius Toney is trying to minimize the situation because he's young, and we all make mistakes. Another horribly tone deaf response to the situation. But this is also why you can't just tell somebody to ignore their mental health problems. Not to say that this is why. I know my opinion on this isn't popular, and it may not even be true. It's what I think of when I heard this is what is happening in his life that led him to this situation, and how did it get to this point? And I hope to God that at some point, something good comes from this. After he serves his time, after everything's said and done, how can this man redeem, not really just make up from this? Because this is going to haunt him the rest of his life.
Yeah. And we'll get to the football implications of this in a minute, and, future outlook for Ruggs and whatever. So first off, I want to start off by saying this, and then I'm going to get to a softer approach here.
Okay.
So everybody does make mistakes and bad decisions, and as adults and as human beings, we have to live with the consequences of those decisions. And Henry Ruggs is going to have to live with the consequences of this for the rest of his life, knowing that he cost somebody else their life, knowing that he cost a dog its life, knowing that he had the world and threw it out. He's going to have to live with the consequences of this, and it is a piss poor decision, and there is nothing to take away from the fact that this is a a bad decision. What this is not, though, and the reason that I think so many people are handling this with kid gloves, and I can see this too, it's a dumbass decision. It was not malicious intent. And
No, I don't think it was
malicious
either.
intent is Tyreek Hill, who's still playing in the league. It's Randy Gregory, who got a second shot. Malicious intent is Kareem Hunt. It's Joe Mixon. It's these guys that are still in the league where we've almost forgotten about it. Larry Fitzgerald turned malicious intent into one of the best careers ever. Ben Roethlisberger has been in the league forever after malicious intent and sexual assault. Twice. Malicious intent is Ray Rice.
It's Adrian Peterson.
It's,
we can keep naming names. It won't take us long to find it out.
No, it's not. It's Ray Lewis. For fuck's
Ray Lewis.
sake. It is not making a poor choice and something terrible happens because of your poor choice. It is, you didn't actively go out and say, I'm going to drive 156 miles and ram into the back of somebody and kill somebody like somebody does when they choose to commit domestic violence, right? He made a decision that had far-reaching consequences than he contemplated at the time as a 22-year-old kid, and who doesn't do that? The thing is that most of us aren't billion-dollar athletes. Most of us at 22 can't afford a vet that goes 156 mile an hour, and most of us, for me it was like financial shit, right? I made a bunch of stupid stuff that I dealt with well into my late 20s, but didn't kill anybody. Still bad decisions that you have to deal with forever.
Yeah.
Henry Ruggs is a 22-year-old kid that made a dumbass choice, and he has to live with that and should have to face the consequences of that. But that doesn't take away from the fact that he's a 22-year-old kid that made a dumbass choice, and there are far worse things that people have gotten second chances in the NFL for. Yes, he killed somebody, and that is terrible. That is terrible that happened, and the justice system will play out and hopefully take care of that in the way that needs to be taken care of. He didn't set out and say, I'm going to kill somebody tonight. And that does matter, in my opinion.
It's such a... we reached a point where it's been... every detail that comes out, dreading it, right? From the first instincts of Henry Ruggs is involved in a serious accident.
Yeah, then you're concerned about him, and then details start to leak.
And then you see people, hoping he's okay, not realizing the situation as a whole, and then immediately turn to, this man is evil. This man knew what he was doing. He's over doubled the intoxication level. This man could have been blacked out. Yes, he's a professional athlete, but ain't a lot of body fat probably on him. The alcohol is going to hit him differently. He's not fucking huge.
Right.
He's tiny. He's not tiny, but he's smaller for an athlete. It's going to hit him differently. And when you combine that potentially, we'll find out if there was maybe drugs involved. We have no clue of the mental, aspect of it. It's 5.5 month year anniversary of his best friend dying of a very similar aspect. He could be going through withdrawals with that. And this isn't a defense towards it. This is just an explanation or a potential theory of why someone could reach this level and the depths of which people will go when they're at their darkest spot. Yeah. And he's going to deal with this, and this will be another dark spot in his life that he's going to have to live with while he sits in jail, while he sits at home after jail, and while he tries to rebound from this.
Yeah.
I don't think he ever plays a snap again in the NFL. I don't think he'll be able to. I think he'll be with the loaded gun, with the reckless driving, with his alcohol content, and the death knell on it, and with how Las Vegas handles this. I hope he doesn't get a chance to. I pray and I hope that he is able to redeem himself afterwards.
Yeah, so this hits a little closer to home for me, too, because I have some personal connections to this, not from me, but to somebody that made a bad decision and got tossed in jail for 4 years, and the person that they hurt was making the same bad decisions, right? Didn't die, thankfully, but the person they hurt was making the same dumbass decisions that they were. Obviously, not the case here. To me, And again, this doesn't take away the fact that the consequences of this are terrible. Like I said, malicious intent matters, and making a dumbass decision as a 22-year-old should not ruin the rest of your life. And I hope that something positive does come out of this. Now, the sentence for this is 2 to 20 years. There's no possibility of probation. He is doing jail time. Let's be very clear about that.
That's just on drunk driving with that resulted in
DUI. Hold on. The gun was never mentioned to be illegal. I just want to put that out there, right?
It just said that he had a loaded gun on him.
There was
That's
nothing
all it says.
that was illegal.
But he was also drunk, which I think does play an effect to it.
I don't think having a loaded firearm, I'd have to look into that. I don't know offhand if being drunk and having a loaded firearm is illegal. I think if you legally have the gun, it doesn't matter what your state is.
I'm wondering if the speed of the... Yeah.
There's nothing that says that having the loaded gun in the vehicle was illegal. He's an athlete and a vet, right? If
I think him being drunk would have an effect. I think. I mean, obviously we don't know. Well,
maybe morally. I don't think... I mean, look.
Okay, well,
if you're driving
morally, it definitely does.
If you're an athlete and you're driving around in a fucking $100,000 vehicle, wouldn't you want self-defense? I mean, right? It was in the car. It wasn't on his person.
Yeah, no. That I agree with. I think
I don't
sure.
think it matters.
I think with him being drunk, I think May does so.
And that's why you haven't seen a firearms charge connected with this, right?
Not yet.
The two charges are for
yeah.
Well, it's not like the police didn't know about that one too, and they knew about the other two things. I would have figured that the intoxication would take longer to prove than the possession of an illegal firearm, right?
That was out, and it came out like a day afterwards. Yeah,
it came out, but the cops would have known about it then.
One would,
and that would have gotten to
I would hope so, right?
And that would have gotten to the district attorney then, and would have been included in the charges. I don't think there's going to be a firearms charge here.
We don't know what his charges are.
Yeah, we do.
That hasn't been announced, right?
Yes, they did. He was in court.
Oh, that's
today.
right. It was 2 counts of, right? It was 2 counts.
He was in court and he was already arraigned, and there's not a firearms charge there.
I completely forgot that happened today.
Yeah, there's not a firearms charge there.
That's my
But
bad.
he is going to do jail time on the DUI side of this, causing death. I don't see that being, like, there's no plea agreement coming there, right? They're not going to plead that one down. So
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. The fact I don't know if he had any priors continuing to. I mean, if he has a clean record, I could totally see the defendants, trying to come down on it. I think he serves jail time. I think he serves jail time. He's definitely not getting the max.
If there's a plea deal here, I don't think it's to plead the charge down. I think it's around sentencing.
Oh, sure, for sure. I think that's also the defense to it too. It's like, we're not going to plead that didn't happen. Obviously, it did. Let's try to get this to the minimum and
if I had to guess,
and salvage your life.
If this is a first-time offense, and I think it is, what I think it's going to be is you're probably looking at 2 to 4 years. He's 22. If he's got a clean record, this is probably going to be in the realm of 2 to 4 years, I would guess. And I'm
waiting for one of the law experts on the fantasy football side to come out. There's a few of them, so I'm waiting for them to say their piece because
this is just from what I've seen from other
situations
like this. And I mean, Dante Stallworth, I think, was a very high profile one. He got
it was in 2009.
In time to finish his career. I don't see if this is a first-time offense that he gets anywhere near 20 years. And he's also only 22, right? I mean, if he gets anything less than 10, he's going to have a chance to come back at an age when he can still play.
I mean, we saw Michael Vick.
He did
serve jail time, come back, and he was able to salvage, his career. Stallworth, I think it was 2009. He also drunk drove, killed a pedestrian who wandered onto a freeway. Served 30 days in jail and was out of the league for a year.
Well, and that
came back and played for a few years.
Different because the pedestrian was on the damn freeway.
Yeah.
So
and there's
that's not entirely on Stallworth.
No, but still.
Vic
either way, we don't have a
Vic had malicious intent.
Vic deserved everything he got.
Yeah. So
but he's also made amends to it, and
Anyway, we'll see how it plays out. I think it is less than 10 years. I think he will have the opportunity. Given some of the other people we've seen get the opportunity, I think he will have the opportunity.
Oh, yeah, the NFL doesn't give a fuck about his about his image. We've seen that.
Yeah, I think he will
very
have the
recent
opportunity to
examples.
try to come back, but you're going to have to wait for this to play out. And in the meantime, he's not going to see the football field.
It's a we'll see. I mean, like you look at guys like Darius Guice who had all charges dropped on him, and yet he is. I mean, granted, with injuries and everything alike, there's been no mum on it. You know, people looked at Ray Rice. The Ray Rice situation made amends. Him and his wife now do a bunch of tours. Never had a second chance.
But Ray Rice,
different because he was malicious. I completely agree.
Well, he was also at the end of his career and averaging 3.2 yards a carry or something like that too. So
it was pretty bad.
It's
You're
not
right.
like Ray Rice was in high demand by the time that happened.
Yeah,
but
I think you're. I think there's a shot, and we'll see what the sentencing looks like. And
now,
you know, we'll come back down that road when he's freed.
The other thing is the politicizing of it with the guy's situation, right? Because domestic violence has been such a hot button topic in sports and painted as such a rampant problem that now anybody that commits domestic violence, whether it's dropped or not, they're making examples out of you. And DUI doesn't get the same attention.
Yeah. I'm wondering with this one, because this, I mean, I know there's some, there's the example with Stallworth, but I wondered with just everything going on, the PR backlash, because there'll be some. I mean, the Eagles got some when they brought Vic. I mean, they got a lot. Sure, and I'm sure some team will give Ruggs a chance, depending on how long Ruggs is in jail for, what type of shape he's in when he gets out. And that's if he even, I mean, I couldn't imagine living with what he's going to have to live with. I can't imagine, what this young lady felt like, what her dog felt like when they essentially burnt up in their car because of his decision.
Yahoo had some lawyers weigh in on this. Yeah, don't want to take the attention off of that either. That is terrifying. Like, that is fucking horrifying.
That's
that's how
I
that
can't
went
believe
down.
it.
That is
It's
nightmare
sickening.
stuff. Let's see. So according to veteran defense, this is per Yahoo Sports, who had some attorneys weigh in on this, and then we'll wrap this up and move on because we've been on Ridley and Ruggs for 30 plus minutes.
Yes, we'll move on.
The Alabama wide receiver episode. Let's see. According to veteran defense attorneys with experience in DUI cases asked by Yahoo Sports to look at the case, the defense investigation is about the 22-year-old Ruggs' only hope. If the facts of the case are what the LVPD says they are, and circumstances suggest they are, then there is almost no way he avoids serving time. Let's see. Yeah, he's in serious trouble. We know that. It's from somebody in Kansas City, Missouri. So that does not mean he is guilty. He has a presumption of innocence, but based on what is out there, he's in serious trouble and faces a lot of exposure. Situation not good. I'm hoping there's something substantiated in here instead of he's multiple factors that may limit any reasonable defense, which duh. Hold on.
Yeah, like I don't think there's any defending of it's guilty or not. I doubt.
No, you're not defending that. It's
he'll
how
claim
much
like
mercy are they
insanity
likely
or
to
some
have?
shit. Yeah,
How
I
much
think it's
mercy
gonna
are
be.
they likely to have? And I don't think insanity is a valid defense for driving drunk. That's more like murder and assault charges. Yeah, and it says that driver died while inside her car engulfed in flames, so the cause of death will be clear. Other complicating factors, such as if she was wearing a seatbelt, won't matter. The gruesomeness of death will hang over everything. Not that there's a good way to die, but burned inside a car is certainly a particularly bad one.
Yeah,
that will play against him. Hold on. Toxicology report. Yeah, there probably will be one.
and that sounds like they're just going through the details.
It doesn't sound like they're going to give.
I mean, we can. I mean, I'm sure this won't be the last time that this is likely going to be brought up. Once more official word comes down for
Here they go.
what actually happened. So, what should we talk about next?
It doesn't say that they're going to get there. I would say next in severity is probably the Derrick Henry injury.
Okay. Some actual fantasy relevance to it.
Yeah, some actual let's get to actual fantasy football. We'll get to Aaron Rodgers here in a
For
minute.
this part, for this part of it, yeah.
Yeah. So Derrick Henry, broken foot, will require surgery. Slated to miss 10 weeks. I think it was 6 to 10 weeks. Sorry. Most likely in the middle of that time frame, you might get him back for championship week. That's the only reason you're holding on to him.
I don't think he plays until the play. I don't think he'll play unless it's in the postseason.
If you got an IR spot, you stash it. If you have a spot on your roster, you stash it. If not, if it's a keeper league, you may potentially stash it. Because it was a broken foot. It was not Liz Frank or.
I thought it was the Julio Jones injury. I thought it was the Liz Frank. That's what I thought I read.
I don't think it was.
That's what's gotten me concerned is that bigger bodied,
I think
bigger athlete with foot injuries always makes me nervous.
I don't think it was the Julio Jones injury.
Okay.
Undergo foot surgery. There's the Adrian Peterson news. God damn it.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything that says it.
May have suffered a season-ending foot injury for Week 8. Suffered a fracture of his fifth metatarsal, per Jake Glazer. Not a Jones fracture, but mentioning the fifth metatarsal brings the infamous injury to mind. Confirmed Henry will undergo an MRI to determine whether or not he will need surgery. Already been reporting it could be season-ending. So,
okay,
that would appear to be not quite as concerning because they're not considering it season-ending tells me that they're not super concerned about this. It sounds like it was a fracture and not much else. We have seen foot injuries be tricky to come back for, particularly for wide receivers, but not necessarily be career-ending or anything like that. Now, the question is, what do you do? So, probably not really worth us talking about because waivers have already ran. But Adrian Peterson and Jeremy McNichols are the pickups here. Adrian Peterson was worked out and immediately signed. I don't necessarily view McNichols as an every down back. So I think you end up, if you picked up Adrian Peterson thinking you're going to get Derrick Henry type of workload or productivity, I think you're kidding yourself.
I fucking hope no one thinks that. I much would rather have McNichols. McNichols was stashed in a lot of the leagues we play in. You play in deeper leagues with a little more in tune, trying to pick up and have backups because we play deeper rosters. What we do know is that McNichols has a pass catching profile, should be the pass catcher in this offense. We have zero clue what either role will be, and we'll get more of an indication when they play and just where the snaps, the routes run, the targets, and the high value touches will come from. I'm betting on McNichols. Should be more familiar with the offense, so I think right away it should be him with the familiarity of the offense. He has a pass catching profile. He has the size to be an every down back. He has the athleticism to be an every down back, and he's been in this system. He's been Henry's backup for 3 years. Like, he could come in and just regulate Peterson's role as to a T. What we do know is that Peterson's not going to be catch. It's not going to be a pass catcher. What we do know is he likely won't be efficient consistently. And there's a good chance, I think, Peterson takes away short yardage and goal line work. That might be his particular role. Well, McNichols is the outside the 20s on third down, 2-minute drill, and hurry up, which is what he was been playing when he was backing up Henry.
Mm-hmm.
So pick up, as like you said, we're already past waivers.
They both need to be on rosters, basically.
Yes.
We're already past waivers. A lot of attention might have gone to Adrian Peterson in some shallower leagues, so if McNichols is out there, pick him up. Like you said, I mean, you were the McNichols fanboy from 2017, and the only thing that held him back was his ability to learn a playbook. He had all the physical tools to do it. So,
well, then, and he was a 5th round pick, so there was no loyalty already being given to him, and the fact that it was famously highlighted on Hard Knocks as the year that the Bucks get it. So, yeah, I'm pumped. Joking all aside, I still like his profile, and
I think he's gonna be.
I think there's an absolute chance that he could be an every down back. We'll just see if it plays out.
Yep, I think you're gonna see more of a split here. Both players should be productive, but I wouldn't be surprised if McNichols is a lot more efficient.
Yeah, and now when it comes to what actually does happen with Henry, the reason why I don't think he'll play is that if the Titans are productive without him and still winning games, they'll just wait for him for the playoffs. So they'll try to rest him as long as possible. If the opposite happens and they're out of the playoff hunts, I don't think he plays. There's no need to play him at that point. It's just how long will they wait until they make that decision?
The flip side of it is what do they have to do in week 16 and 17 to make the playoffs, right? Because I think they would bring him back.
I mean, we even saw last year with the Steelers who could have gotten a chance at the 2 seed. I think it's if they can't within reason get the 1 seed, they may just lean on them likely winning the AFC South. They have the tiebreaker over the Colts on top of a 2-game lead.
Well,
There's 3 games
you still
in
got
hand
half
on
the
them.
season to go, though. So what if you
exactly,
get to the
end
of the season and they're fighting for a wild card spot?
Yeah, I mean, I shouldn't say that there is no reason. There is a way for him to come back. I just don't think it's as right now. I just don't see it happening.
I see it as a
playoff.
Hold on to it and to him until it becomes more clear what that is.
Yeah.
Because
you're not dropping him.
If 6 weeks,
throw him on your IR.
If it's I think they said it was a 6 to 10 week injury.
They said 6 weeks is very unlikely, but it is part of the timetable.
Yeah. So we've seen some people heal fast. That's why my guess goes more towards 8.
Yeah, I think 8 to 10 is
if
probably
they need
more
him
likely.
and there's any chance, if they are fighting for a playoff spot and because this is a team that's win now, if they're fighting for a playoff spot in 7 weeks from now in week 16,
that's still 3 guys. It's 3 games too. I mean, that's what makes it tough. Is that he may within reason be back by week 17 or by week 18, ready to go. And they may still rest him. And by that time, week 18 isn't a play.
We don't care about week 18,
week.
But week 17 is now. That's why I said he might be back for championship if he can make it.
Hopefully, yeah.
I'm with you. I think that if they're firmly in playoff contention and seeding doesn't matter, if they're going to have to play, regardless, that they don't rush him back and keep him for the playoff run. But the NFC or the AFC South is not that separated, right? So I think that if they have to fight for the division or fight for a wild card spot, and that is on the line, like a playoff spot is on the line for them, that they will bring him back to help with that push. So it just depends. We're way too far out to know what position they're going to be in 6-7 weeks from now.
I want to know what this changes to the offense. So there is no, we have to care about Derrick Henry. Now we can now put all of our focus in on Tannehill, who's been up and down very much so this year. The offensive line's been up and down. They're banged up. Obviously, the wide receiver room has not played out to their expectations with Julio coming on and off the injury report.
So this helps.
You would assume more passing attempts, but the efficiencies should probably drop.
It's going to be more passing attempts. You're probably going to see more to A.J. Brown. And the third receiver right now seems to be Nick Westbrook. If you're really going to, predict an increase in passing volume, then and Julio's been on and off, then you're going to have to predict that somebody other than, A.J. Brown's going to get some, but somebody else is going to emerge into wide receiver 2 or 3 status into that flex range. So Nick Westbrook might be an unheralded pickup here that nobody's paying attention to maybe stash on the back of your roster and see how that target volume looks.
I mean, we've liked what we've seen from Brown over the past couple of weeks. 3 weeks, he's gone off, right? The production is there. He's healthy. We know that Brown can be productive in a passing offense that's circled around him. It's just it's what we're going to see from the defenses now that don't have to worry about Derrick Henry. They're going to see more light fronts. They're going to have more pass coverage. Going to put more pressure on Tannehill to lead this offense.
Well, unless
it's hard to make up. What's that?
Unless McNichols I think it's going to be more balanced. But unless McNichols and balance could be a better thing for the Titans, though, right? Henry, it doesn't matter if you stack the box against him; he's going to get it done anyway. If this becomes a more balanced offense where you have to think about both the run and the pass, because I firmly believe in the ability of Adrian Peterson and Jeremy McNichols to put together a rushing attack that you can't ignore. But now you got to worry more about A.J. Brown and more about Julio Jones and what they're going to do in the passing game. This might not be such a net negative.
Shouldn't be. I'm interested. Derrick Henry is a massive loss. And I think what he allowed for the passing game is we'll see what effect it takes. It's not like Tennessee's been up and down. 3 weeks ago, this team lost to the Jets and was often considered a joke.
So let me
now
scope this another way for fantasy. Because fantasy volume is what you want. Efficiency is scary when people are getting it done on 4 targets.
Very true. Brown, I have no. Brown Westbrook, all those guys, I think. I have no. Brown's top 3 all the way the rest of the season.
Oh, yeah. Brown will be fine. It's a boost to Julio, and I think Westbrook you should watch and see what happens if, because Julio.
You might even see more work to the tight ends. You might see, McNichols see a lot more work. He has a 12-target game this season, so it's not all the realm of possibility that McNichols sees
more passing
a far more floor of passing work than 2-3 targets with the occasional boom. He could be more in that 5 to 7 range where he becomes an easy RB2 just based on his pass catching work.
Sure thing.
All
right, that's Henry. I feel like there's
check.
Jesus.
We got OBJ, we got Rodgers.
Those are the other 2 big ones I can think of is OBJ and Rodgers.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we're missing something.
There might be more.
Shit, we talked so much about the. We got to go back to Ruggs and Ridley for a second because we talked so much about the humanity side of it. We didn't.
Oh God,
we didn't
have
the impacts of any of it. Okay, let's go back to Ridley real quick. The fantasy impacts of Calvin Ridley stepping away for an undisclosed amount of time is going to be a Kyle Pitts blow up. You're going to see all of the potential out of Kyle Pitts. Gage is still dealing with injuries. Tajay Sharp is the other one that's been getting target volume there, and you don't necessarily love that, but. Volume's king, right? But it's really Kyle Pitts and potentially Cordarrelle Patterson that I think are going to be the 2 weapons that benefit most from that.
Yeah, and we may just see more of of condensed target volume. Pitts, one of Gage or Sharp. Good luck picking that.
You might see more Hayden Hurst.
Hayden Hurst may get, they may ask him to run more routes instead of blocking. They're called about Cordarrelle Patterson. Easily, he saw 60% of the snaps last week outside with Mike Davis seeing 64. You might see more of those 2 lined up together. Patterson may be playing more of a significant slot role, not lining so much more in the backfield. I think it's not about who's going to make up the production. I think it's about where that target volume that really provided is going to just land on your 2 biggest playmakers right now in Pitts and Patterson, with some of it sprinkled on the Sharp and Gage when Patterson's operating more as a traditional back. I agree, though. I don't think it falls much further than that. I think it's more so going to be what the utilization of Patterson looks like now that you can use both him and Davis at the same time.
Yeah, fair point. They're gonna have to get creative on that offense with either.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to try to make that offense run around your best weapons right now are your running backs and your tight ends. So you had no depth.
This is like Cleveland, but shittier.
Well, because Cleveland,
I don't even know if it's shittier, honestly.
Cleveland actually has wide receiver depth. They just don't use it. Atlanta has none, and they didn't have any wide receiver depth to begin with.
God, yeah. Between them and Cleveland, it looked like one of the. I mean, God, Cleveland's is another whole different situation.
Can Cleveland just ship their wide receiver core to Atlanta? I'd be happy because they'll actually use them.
Just rotate them. Yeah.
The other side of this is the Raiders, and for the Raiders, Henry Ruggs is a deep threat. Look, the person that's going to see deep work now is probably Zay Jones. But I'd expect the 4 to 5 targets that are coming away from Ruggs to probably just be absorbed, right? Ruggs was not getting a lot of target volume. They're still going to need somebody to stretch the field, and I do think that is probably Zay Jones, and Zay Jones is going to step into that third wide receiver role. That's not saying you go out and pick up Zay Jones. This is not a team that throws the wide receivers a lot anyway. Darren Waller is still alpha here. You may see a slight bump to Bryan Edwards, a slight bump to Hunter Renfrow. But Hunter, damn it.
I know. I was waiting how long to see if
it's behind
until
me.
You. Yeah. I mean, you look at in week 6 before their bye last week, Edwards led all wide receivers and snaps. Edwards you expect some of that role. I mean, we know that Edwards can work vertically as well. Obviously, nothing's really come to fruition. The passing game has been so spread out in terms of its actual production that it's. You may, like you said, see more Zay Jones. You'd say, I don't expect Renfro's role to change at all. You may see a little more vertical, out of Edwards, which is a bigger increase. And maybe you do see a slightly bigger role for Renfro as he has kind of become the team's number 1 wide receiver.
Yeah. I was going to say, there you go again with the snap count. And I will just say this, being on the field matters, but I'm on the field, you're not throwing me the football.
Hey, 31 targets. Yeah, no, I definitely agree.
Yeah.
Zay Jones, 7 targets this year.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying run out.
No, I'm just saying that,
he's going to be on the field.
I agree. We're going to probably see more Zay Jones.
Yeah, you will.
Or maybe we'll see more 2 tight end sets, right? I mean,
Waller's Foster Moreau.
Waller's healthy-ish. Foster Monroe, we're both big fans of. Very athletic.
See a lot of 2 tight end down in the
You might see a lot more 2 tight end and just operating with Renfro and Edwards.
Foster Moreau's a red zone monster.
It always has been.
Yep. Okay, now, Rodgers or Odell?
Let's go to Rodgers because Odell is just kind of. It's the most recent. You can go with the one that's been. I don't know which one's been talked about.
There's another humanity thing at approach here. Aaron Rodgers is a damn weasel. It's like just
I now hate this man again. I was starting to gain.
I was starting to like him,
gone.
and he was starting to grow on me because the personality is actually pretty likable. And then you found out that he used the term immunization instead of vaccination in a quote in the offseason because he got homeopathic treatment, not a shot. And asked the NFLPA to review it and count it, and they said, nah, bae, you cray-cray.
Fucking rich white people, man. And you wonder why. You wonder why how the fuck do these people get to where they're at and just have some of the most wildish and outlandish ideas of just life in general. This is just
so. Yeah, the soonest he can be back is he's not playing this week because he's unvaccinated. So you got 10 days. He's out this week. Blake Bortles was rushed in to start over Jordan Love. No, he's not. He's rushed in to back up Jordan Love. Jordan Love's going to get the start. We'll talk more about the fantasy implications of this in the preview. I don't. Thing is, it sounds like Aaron Rodgers was transparent with the people he needed to be transparent with. The media is not one of them. So I don't think anything more comes out of that.
No, I think you'll get scrutinized. He'll get shit on, which he's been used to it with him being, the head quarterback for Green Bay for the last 16 years. It's nothing's going to change. He's gone for 1 to 2 weeks. Likely, I think it might be closer to 2, but we'll see. And we'll get, the very few Jordan Love truthers out there will finally get their look at, and we'll get more into that. As JD says, Bortles, but spelled out like we're watching The Good Place. Bortles!
JD, you have no idea how happy I am about Bortles making his return to Green Bay. By the way, I'll be in Jacksonville
That's right.
on Sunday for the Bills-Jaguars game. So we'll get into that in a minute. Might get to see Dawson Knox make his return. He's day-to-day right now.
God, I hope so.
I do too because he's tentatively plugged into my Scott Fishbowl lineup. I have not won since I had to stop going to the 3 tight end lineup.
I've thankfully
Actually I think I
have survived. I think I'm
I
1-1
won the first week. I'm 1-1. I think I'm 5-2 now. 5-3 now.
Oh man.
Yeah. And by the way, at least Cole Beasley was honest about not getting vaccinated and what he did.
Yeah, Cole Beasley just decided to show everybody that he's a clown.
So I do appreciate the honesty, even though you still look like a clown.
Rodgers is just a snake.
Yeah,
he would totally be in House Slytherin if this was Harry Potter universe.
Yeah. All right, one more thing before we go there. Odell Beckham Jr. So the Browns are not willing to waive Odell Beckham. They're trying to reach a financial resolution with him. So it sounds like a buyout, maybe.
Yeah, I don't think he plays again for the Browns.
I don't think he does either. It sounds like he's going to hit free agency in the middle of the season and go somewhere. But
he's got to clear through waivers, which I don't think I mean, I know his contract's
well, if they waive
bad,
him, right? If they buy him out, he doesn't, I don't think.
Oh, that's right. Forget about that.
So they're trying to reach a financial settlement. They're not willing to waive him because I don't think they want him to go through waivers. I think that they'd rather buy him out. I think that financial implications of a buyout are probably less also. So I think they're trying to get him to agree to something less than the terms of his contract because he wants to play. I don't know what led. I'm assuming what led to this is that he's just not a good fit for the Browns scheme. He's a old school prima donna wide receiver that wants to be the focal point of an offense, and he's
his
not.
dad highlighted in a video on Instagram, placing blame on Mayfield doesn't also help. It's been a headache from day one.
Fucking thing. Like, are we still in Pee Wee? The fuck are you doing, Lonzo Ball? Not Lonzo Ball wannabe. Damn it! I ruined my rant. Lamar Ball wannabe, like LeVar. That's it. I'd forgotten about him because he went away. Like, what are you doing? Highlighting? Well, he's not throwing to my son. Throw my son the football. What the fuck is this? We're not 12 anymore. Get the fuck out of here. But Odell's a prima donna receiver that wants to be a focal point on an offense. The Browns have won generally without using Odell or Jarvis Landry, right?
Really much. They've done worse when Odell's been in the lineup. It places more strain on what Stefanski wants to run his offense. For better or for worse, we don't truly know what this offense could look like if they went less run focused. But either way,
he needs to, and they're winning too. So it's not about winning; it's about Odell, right? We see people that want out because they're not winning a lot. It's about Odell.
Well, the Browns are also now in a slide. So, I mean, you can obviously point that to the injury, whether it be, Baker playing through his injury and then the loss of the running backs, which has been the true focal point of his offense. It's not so much Baker. It's more now, Hunt and Chubb highlighting this rushing attack and letting Baker play off of that.
Right. I guess they're somehow in last in that division. How the fuck are the Steelers 4-3? But it's very bunched up too. So
the number one seed in the AFC is the Titans. 3 weeks ago, they were the laughing stock of after losing the Jets.
I am very confused.
And now they are the number one seed in the AFC.
We get so caught up in fantasy. I haven't looked at team records in a while. I am very confused by the AFC right now.
It is going to make for tremendous football down the stretch. Like that number one seed is going to be so much fighting over it. Like just given the
Raiders
standings
are leading the West. The Ravens are leading the division with the Bengals hot on their heels. The Titans are the number one seed. The rest of their division is below 500. The entire AFC West is over 500, as is 500 or over. So sorry, as is the entire AFC North.
I forgot. Titans have a 3-game lead plus tiebreakers over the Colts, not 2. This AFC is going to be the North. At least looks. I mean, the West North. I mean, effectively the same records. Bye week standings, but
NFC is not nearly as fun. But how the Saints are 5-2?
And they just beat the Bucks
They're
too.
only a half game behind the Bucks somehow, and they have no receivers.
I mean, Green Bay's number one team technically in football. Per tiebreakers and record.
Outside of the Cardinals, Rams, Cowboys, and Bucks and Saints, though, everybody else in the NFC is pretty god awful.
Yeah, this is fun times.
You have 1, 2, 3. You have 5 teams over 500 in the NFC. You have 2 divisions 500 or over in the AFC. Oh my God!
Yikes!
Anyway, yeah, Odell wants out is basically what that amounts to. He will get out eventually. He will go somewhere. It will have to be through waivers, not trade. The Browns' inability to trade him for anything when he wants out is kind of mind-boggling to me. The trade deadline was kind of mind-boggling to me, though. Like, nothing happened.
I mean, yeah.
There's some defensive trades. Von Miller went to the Rams. That's scary.
Nothing ever really happens. It's very anticlimactic.
Except last year. Last year was crazy.
Anticlimactic. I mean, sure, but I think it's more. I mean, this is more of what we expect from the norm. It gets hyped up of all these potential trades that could happen, and more often than not, because of how important chemistry and team fit and build. It's not like you
more
have
so in the NFL than
30 plus
else.
games, in basketball and hockey, and 100 plus. I don't know if it's 100. I may be wrong. In baseball,
no, it's
you don't have
162 in baseball.
Well, I mean,
your trade deadline's in July. You've got half the season left, and there's not really a team chemistry aspect to baseball, right? Baseball's so plug and play. Their deadline is crazy. Hockey, there is a chemistry aspect, but you can also plug and play because there's so much of the season left. And same thing with the NBA. The NFL is the most boring trade deadline there is, but there were trades. I'm going to run through them real quick.
Okay.
Kerry Vincent Jr. to the Eagles for a 6th-round pick. Not consequential at all, really. Depth trade. Chiefs traded guard Laurent Duvernay-Tardif, Dr. Laurent Duvernay-Tardif to the Jets for tight end Daniel Brown. Brown via special teamers. Jets are trying to shore up the offensive line with former starter on that team before he opted out for COVID and then was hurt. So he became expendable because of that, but he should be upgraded to the Jets.
Yep.
Charles Omenihu from the Texans to the Niners. So for his 2023 6th-rounder, so the Texans taking their hold on the back part of the draft. Melvin Ingram from the Steelers to the Chiefs, 2022 6th-rounder there. Mild upgrade. Melvin Ingram, not quite what he used to be, but it should help the pass rush. Von Miller to the Rams for 2022 2nd, 2022 3rd. By far the biggest name to trade places, basically.
I want to see what I mean. Obviously not the same player as he used to be.
No, but he's also
him now to be paired alongside Donald. Ooh,
Donald.
That pass rush should be
Leonard Floyd's been pretty damn good since he went over there. That pass rush is going to be good.
He's going to be a really good rotational.
I should just bet on the Rams to win the Super Bowl now.
I mean, Rams-Bills have been my Super Bowl since like week 3. The two most balanced teams in football.
Yep.
My opinion.
Yep. Kenny Young over to the Broncos, by the way, from the Rams. So a little bit of a trade there. Joe Flacco from the Eagles to the Jets. This is depth with the injured Zach Wilson. Also gives Zach Wilson the veteran presence that he desperately needs. But Mike White making it to where Flacco is not going to start.
Mike White proving that you don't need no veteran presence.
I am the veteran presence.
You see the guy that put $1,000 on Mike White to lead week 7 or week 8 in passing yards? It's a 16. Out? It was. I think it was 1650 to 1. It was well over 1,000 to 1 odds. This man made over 100 grand because he believed in the statue himself.
He did good.
He also had the disposable income to bet $1,000 freely on a bet that's stupid.
And you know what?
The dude paid. I will give props to the payment. That's a stupid fucking bet, and he has that spendable income.
We said Mike White was talented, did we not?
He's just playing in the wrong era of football, but he found. He started off red hot. He had two, I think, tip ball interceptions. I don't think he threw a bad. I don't remember him throwing a bad interception. I mean, he's not obviously the starter. He's not the future, but he definitely gives the Jets the ability to not rush back Wilson.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Case Keenum that has been waiting in the wings, right?
The new Case Keenum.
That's exactly what he is. He's the new, because there's going to be some team now that sees this.
But he doesn't have any rushing upside either. At least Keenum gave you very little.
Oh,
give you some.
Zero
the threat of rushing
upside, but he can fucking sling it.
And he did it without. And he did it with the banged up Corey. Like
no Corey Davis.
I don't think Corey Davis didn't even play.
He didn't. And he's not playing this week either.
He did it with Braxton Berrios, Jamison Crowder,
Elijah Moore,
and Denzel Mims.
Who, by the way, the Jets would not trade.
Yeah, Mims.
Weird.
I don't know how much of that was actually true. Like the trade market for Mims. I mean, there's probably one phone call that they blew it up to say that they got a bunch of phone calls about Mims.
Apparently, they wouldn't budge on him.
That's what that feels like. But hey, I mean, Mims is talented. He's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Something's not going on.
Well, yeah. It's the Dante Pettis thing again, except minus the early productivity.
And, yeah. It's some maybe doghouse. I don't know.
I don't know what he did. Okay. Should we review and get to some? There's all sorts of injuries to talk about. We'll talk about them in the game previews, though, as we go through them.
We'll just mention them as we. Yeah, we gotta get.
We gotta get moving.
We gotta get moving. We'll do the beer review and then jump into the previews.
Beer review.
Absolutely nothing to do with the fact that I just burped up 99 proof bourbon.
Oh God, right through that. That's got to taste so good. Well, why don't you talk about your bourbon, and then we'll talk about your beer.
I like this segment. It's all about me.
Me. It's all about me.
I love me some me.
And love me some me.
All right. Like I mentioned earlier, the Thomas S. More Port Cask is a finished cask premium offering from Barton 1792 that was released earlier this year. There are 3 offerings in the line: a port, a Chardonnay, and a Cab Sauv. Yeah, and overall on this one, it's good. I mean, 1792 does good bourbon anyway. The port finish on this one definitely comes out. There are some like sugary, almost like cookie dough notes before you get into kind of a very dark fruit back end. I don't like it as much as the Cab. It's just the way that the notes hit you. The dark fruit on the Cab, I think, hits stronger and more up front and through the whole palate, whereas the port is more concentrated around the back end and just the general sweetness of it. The Chardonnay, very buttery towards the back end, from what I recall. So the port is definitely my second favorite in the lineup, but overall, all 3 of them are very, very good. This is absolutely not disappointing. On the nose, you get a lot of that sweet, just port dark fruit type notes. Starts off with a little bit of heat. It's only 98 proof, but it does pack a little bit of warmth there. It's not harsh by any means, but that hits the front of the tongue with a little bit of spice, and then you start to roll into some of the sugary, like I mentioned, cookie dough, and finishes with strong dark fruit notes. So, overall, it's very, very sweet, but it gives you a little bit of a hug at the beginning. It's a solid bottle. Price on this one, if you're looking for it, I believe they're around $80.
It's not too bad. I mean, a little higher for most people's price range, but
in comparison, for an alternative, easier to find, lower price, and just as good, anything from the Davis County line from Luxero.
Sounds delicious. Can't wait to try it if there's any left.
Yeah, they're here. Next time you're over, I got both of them. We'll pull them out. I got 2 of the 3. Perfect. We'll pull them out.
All right, let's talk about your beer.
Let's talk about my beer.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I tend to like. I think the carbonation at this point works very well. It's not too carbonated. It's definitely not undercarbonated, which is great. Head pour gave you about, I want to say, a half an inch of head.
Half an inch of head's pretty good.
Yeah, half-inch head. I tried to go through it to see if you can get through it without anything, but I knew it was going to happen.
No, there's
Anyways,
no way it couldn't.
it just had to happen. Just a tip. It's got a great, it's got the Reese's Pieces taste to it. With it being more of a medium body, it doesn't, fill you up as quickly. It reminds me a lot of the Stills peanut butter porter, which I do drink a lot.
That's what I thought.
It drinks a lot like it, and this would be one where I think you could get some success if you ever remake and things were to ever take off to the point where you want to make beer post career. This may be a beer that I would double back to. This definitely be a beer that I'll keep the recipe for it, and you can you can do special stuff with it because it's solid. I'm not obviously a massive beer expert, but I can give you at least some basic notes around it, plus a little bit more. So it's good. Well done.
I greatly appreciate that. Thank you, sir. For that one, I don't recall having carbonate. I didn't have any carbonation problems with that one. I've had carbonation problems before. A lot easier to control with kegging. The thing that I had with that one that I think has calmed down a bit is that damn peanut butter extract. So I mentioned that it says story time because every beer has a story. So I mentioned that the bottle on that says 4 ounces to a 5-gallon keg. So homebrewers mostly work in batches of 5 or 10 gallons. I work in 5-gallon batches. We did a 10-gallon batch and split it between 2 of us. Like I said, we added adjuncts separately. So Dan Etling, my partner in crime for this one, did about 2 ounces of peanut butter extract, and it was, like I said, that's the one that was one of 7 beers that drove us to a second place People's Choice at Brew in the Lou. So St. Louis is a big beer market. That's a really good showing. And so I had just put mine on tap at that point. And the first couple times I tried it, it was just peanut butter straight in your face. And I had overpoured a little bit, but I had done, 2.5 to 3 ounces in a 5-gallon batch instead of the 2 he did. And the peanut butter was just so much more just right up front. And over the last couple weeks, I feel like it's fallen down a bit. But I had the exact same thought because I actually drank a glass of this right after I drank the peanut butter porter that you had given me. And I had the exact same thought of these 2 beers are really damn close.
Yeah, it's I can see people if they're going to give critiques on it, maybe they'll want more of a fuller body.
Yeah,
because it drinks it almost drinks like this is a brown base. I mean, I know it's not, but
yeah,
you can definitely see that maybe there some people would want more of a fuller body to it, like stout base or something.
And I would give that same critique. There are 2 things that I would critique about that beer to make it better. And it will be brewed again because one thing I've learned throughout the last year, we're going to diverge into brewing again here for a minute. One thing I've learned throughout the last year is that there is a distinct difference between brewing beer for bottle competitions and brewing beer for People's Choice.
Yeah, it's definitely true.
When you're brewing beer for People's Choice, you're brewing to their taste, and when you're brewing beer to bottle competitions, you're brewing to a style guideline that you're handed. I prefer brewing to taste. Always have. Because then I can give it the style afterwards and just brew whatever the hell I want to brew. But this is one that will be rebrewed for probably a festival type of competition where there's a People's Choice involved. I don't think, because of what it is, if I sent this to a bottle competition, it would have to go into a specialty category.
Yeah.
Which has like a million different things that fall in that. So I probably wouldn't send it there, but I definitely will end up taking this out to a People's Choice. And the 2 critiques I would give it are this. It's supposed to be a liquid Reese's Stout. I would probably scale the peanut butter back just a hair. And I'd maybe do something to enhance the chocolate. If it's not straight through malt, maybe cocoa nibs. Just to enhance the chocolate note on it a little bit.
Sure.
And then, like you mentioned, the body. It drinks more like, I agree with you. It's between a light stout and a porter for me, body-wise.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we do that through more lactose or if we do something like flaked oat to give it more of a creamy mouthfeel or adjust the fermentation temp a little bit to make it more full that way. But I would probably try to make it a little bit creamier more so than heavy. If I
Oh,
were
sure,
gonna do
yeah.
something
Just
with
give it
body.
the,
Make it a little more full.
Yeah, just give it the illusion that's treat it almost like how people make the massive haze bombs, where they use use the illusion of a cream from the oak flakes to give it that.
Yep, because oats put a lot of protein into your beer, which gives it mouthfeel. The other thing I could do is I could, the more that you let something ferment, the more the proteins and stuff fall out of it. So I probably could have. I did let it ferment a little longer than I wanted to initially, by like a week or two. So, anyway, I appreciate the positive feedback. I'm happy to hear it. People do seem to like that beer. I have probably about half a keg of it left because I've been drinking the shit out of it. So, there's s'mores beer fermenting right now. So, it'll be ready for adjuncts when I get back.
I have a hitter.
Florida.
I have a love-hate with s'mores. There's some I've absolutely loved, and there's been some like I just dread. And I love s'mores in general, so I'm excited to try it and see. I have high hopes for you. So
I'm really doing this one because there's a particular malt I wanted to try called Mecha Grade Opal 22. The sheet on it says it gives a lot of notes of cocoa and graham.
Oh, there you go.
So
it also sounds like a metal band.
It does. Gives a lot of notes of cocoa and graham, but it's lighter. So I don't really know what category I would put this beer in. It's either going to be a porter or a stout, most likely. But I'm real curious to see what I get out of this beer, and if it goes well, this may become because of how light it is on an SRM scale, this malt may become something I use in my when I brew the white stout again. So
yeah,
we'll see how it goes though. Playing with it right now is to let the base beer finish, and then we're gonna throw some graham crackers, some vanilla bean, and some roasted cocoa nibs into secondary, and see where we end up.
Love it.
Because marshmallow doesn't actually do anything.
Nope.
Just ferments out. All right, cool. Game previews. Take us away.
Let's do it.
Cowboy,
all right.
Take me away.
Take me away. All right, Jets-Colts Thursday night game. Colts are favored by 10.5 points. This is the second highest game spread on the week here. Teams on a bye. Should probably just
we should probably just start with bye teams, because between COVID, injuries, and bye weeks, this week is hell to fill out a lineup.
This is almost worse than week 6.
Yeah, this week honestly is hell to fill out a lineup.
Detroit, Seattle, Bucks, Washington. So you have Swift, Hawkinson missing from the Bucks. Seattle with both receivers, running backs, because most people have been flexing Alex Collins and the departure of Chris Carson. Geno Smith in super flex leagues. Tampa Bay, Fournette, Brady, the 3 receivers.
Yeah.
What's that? Yeah, Gronk, Washington, McLaurin, Gibson, some McKissick, Ricky Seals-Jones in the absence of Logan Thomas.
Yeah.
So this is a bit tough week on top of the Giants' 13 positive cases of COVID. Thankfully, the retest only came back with just one person, and it was the running back coach.
Well, and they're still banged up at wide receiver. You've got an injury to Corey Davis, who you can't plug in. He was almost for sure not playing. You've got the Browns blackballing Odell. You've got Ridley stepping away from the Falcons. You've got we can keep going through this, right? It is not.
It is rough.
It is not pretty.
There's been people that have been posting pictures of their lineups, and they can't actively set an active lineup. You might see in some of the shallower leagues, some of the more casually competitive leagues where large roster spots and benches and IR slots aren't as popular as in some more of the
you may see some
the more competitive leagues, you may see some names be dropped that are going to shock you. So
yeah, pay attention.
You may
to
see
your
some outlandish
transactions.
trades too. Trade deadline hasn't obviously been. We're not too far away from the actual fantasy draft seasons for redraft leagues. So you might start getting some crazy trade offers with your individual league mates are trying to salvage their teams.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I am overexposed to Mike White this week, relevant to this game.
Oh boy.
Well, willfully overexposed to Mike White. I mean,
happily overexposed.
I did happily.
Joyfully.
I did, because I'm looking through these guys that are there, and it's like, okay, I can go Mac Jones, I can go, but none of them have any discernible upside. And then there's Mike White, and like, the Jets are gonna have to throw. Why not?
It's more happiness. They're all the same, given floor and ceiling.
Plus, I'm just happy to be able to start fucking Mike White.
Who brings you the most joy? That's what fantasy is really all about. Whatever brings you joy. All right, again,
you go through betting. I'm gonna look up how high I actually was on Mike White.
Sure. I think Nick may have been the lowest one, maybe. Jets, Colts. Again, Colts 10.5-point favorites at home. 45.5 is the game total. As we get deeper into the NFL season, game totals and predictions of over and unders are going to be relatively difficult to predict. So I do have fun. I like to do more of my over under bets and live betting. If your betting site allows live betting, that might be a better option. Spread wise, I don't want to play this. I don't have up the team's record against the spread this season, though I can try to pull it up while we're talking. But it's 10.5 points. Jets are coming off of a nice high victory here. Colts coming off of a disappointing finish to the Titans where they couldn't put them away after being up double-digit touchdowns on the road. Likely not going to bet this game. Maybe live bet the over-under when I start seeing what the teams look like.
All right, and from a fantasy perspective, excuse me.
There you
go. In this one, you're definitely looking at Michael Pittman. Michael Pittman has had a couple of huge blow-up weeks. He's the clear number one with the Colts. He's an insta-start these days. Michael Pittman is. For the Jets, like I mentioned, if you need a streaming quarterback, you're going Mike White. Running backs in this game, I'm fine with both sides of it. We just saw Michael Carter come off of a huge game. It looks like he's taking the Jets' backfield by storm. So if you're looking for deeper cuts and plug-ins, Jamison Crowder for the Jets really jumps out, and I believe Elijah Moore also had a decent game. I wouldn't necessarily bet on the wide receivers. Mike White did spread it out a bit. But I like Mike White as a streamer, and I like the running backs in this game on top of Michael Pittman. And then it is the Jets, so you're okay with Carson Wentz this week as well. Pretty easy there.
Yeah, Colts 5-3 against the spread this season. Jets 2-5. Not much to take away from there. ESPN game total spread at a 48.8. I don't know. It's about 45. So, again, Vegas right on prediction. Texans at Miami. Miami is 6.5-point favorites at home. 46 even is the game total.
Hold on. I found the Mike White stuff. Can we double back to the Colts games real quick?
Do it.
All right. I found my original notes on Mike White as well as where I had him ranked.
Did you find just yours, or were you able to find?
I found just mine. It was the 2018 rankings. I don't think I have the show's 2018 rookie rankings.
I'm gonna look to see while you.
Oh, there it is. 2018 rookie show rankings. This is actually the numerical spreadsheet, though. The
master sheet.
Yeah, you and me filled it out, and we both rated him the same.
There, Mike White.
So you and I probably maybe had him.
We're all relatively the same.
He was around QB 9-10 for us, I think. I had him behind Danny Etling and Kyle Lauletta, but I think a lot of that was just being a younger analyst. I had Loletta higher based on the hype that was around Loletta there. So I think he probably would have been at least a spot higher for me had I been only paying attention to myself and not what Twitter was saying.
We had it tied with. He was tied with Lamar Jackson at 6, at 5 and 6.
Overall,
In terms of our consensus, yes, they both end up overall based on our overall evaluation. This is obviously pre-draft. Based on our numerical value in our first actual full year doing it was
he was
tied.
Lamar Jackson.
He was tied with Lamar. You had him higher than Lamar Jackson.
I did. I probably did. And here's why. My notes on Mike White from the film sessions that year. This is before we really got into analytics, so caveat that.
Yes.
Cannon for a right arm, prototypical NFL starting size, adept at standing in the pocket and delivering footballs on time. He's pretty much the college football version of UPS in that regard. Packages on time. Anticipatory thrower, not mobile, but not quite a statue. Prefers the pocket, but will roll out, which we've seen in the NFL. Throws are generally accurate, and he can toss some pretty downfield cheese. So, arm all over the place. Cons on him, was not super athletic, would give Tom Brady a run for his money in a foot race. Wasn't good at throwing on the run. Looked very awkward doing that. Off balance, causing throws to sail some. Almost like a baseball pitcher falling off the mound, so kind of his follow-through, which I think that's probably been fixed. Occasionally didn't see defenders looking over the middle, which led to some picks, which we saw. So, really, pretty accurate assessment, right? Big arm, not afraid to sling the football. Pretty accurate when he's slinging the football. Will throw some picks. He was a gunslinger.
I love it. It's just it's so much fun. It's fun to go back and look at.
You were right.
It's fun to go back and look at our old evaluations and I'm trying to figure out.
Back up Mike White. Anyway, he's a stream for me.
All right.
Yeah, now you can keep going.
Now we can keep going.
I think we were talking about the 49ers or something.
Texans at Dolphins. Dolphins 6.5-point favorites. Game total sits at an even 46. Both teams have fared horrible against the spread this year. Houston's even at 4-4. Miami's 2-5-1. I mean, both struggling teams. Hopefully Tyrod's back. I'll take Houston in the 6.5 points. Game total wise, again, I'm not entirely in love with it. I think it's right about even for expectations. So I'll take Houston in the 6.5 points.
Tyrod Taylor will be back.
Yay.
You can't do anything other than Brandon Cooks from the Texans. There's no way.
Brandon Cooks.
It's Brandon Cooks. That's it. For the Dolphins side of things, Gesicki has been fine. Tua's been good. Look, the Texans are so bad. I mean, they've been scoring a little bit in garbage time and found a way to put some points up, but they're a really bad team. I like Myles Gaskin this week for the Dolphins. You can start him with confidence in a week where it's really hard to fill out starting lineups. I think that he's definitely got some upside in this one, given game script and everything. But, yeah, this is really a mediocre game for fantasy perspectives. There's really four people I'm confident running out, and it's Gesicki, Cooks, Tua, and Brandon Cook. Or you can't count Brandon Cooks twice, and Myles Gaskin.
Speaking of Myles Gaskin, JD asked us a question. JD wants to know: Sutton, Gaskin, or Hollywood Brown?
Oh, let me look at the other matchups. Hollywood Brown is the Vikings. That's almost a surefire thing for me.
Yeah, that's a great matchup.
And
Broncos get the Cowboys. Sutton will likely draw
Diggs.
Boomer bust Diggs. Diggs you can definitely throw on him. He's just very, very opportunistic.
You're going to have to throw a good amount, too. It's not Gaskin. I can tell you that.
It's Brown.
It's It's Brown. I think it's Hollywood Brown in that game with the Vikings.
Sutton, it's the return of Judy. Saw no clear winner in the target volume with Teddy at the helm. It's
Teddy's gonna spread the football. He always does.
Yeah, Sutton got. I think they're all three of them. I think it was Sutton and Judy led in targets. Patrick had one less. None of them saw more than 5 targets. I actually think none of them saw more than 4 targets. None of them were productive. So
it's a good volume game, but they're spreading the football a lot. Hollywood Brown for the Ravens, and I'm even on Bateman a bit this week too. I think that's a good matchup for them. A lot of
it's going to be very telling to see. Too. Yeah,
and
we'll get back to that game when we get there.
Well, and I will say this too, JD. As always, look at your matchup. I do like Gaskin more as a floor play, but Hollywood Brown's ceiling is so much higher that it's almost a surefire thing for me.
It's Sutton and Brown's ceiling are maybe identical. We should expect similar passing volume. I just like Brown's situation more for
also,
this week, especially.
That is the first time I've ever answered Hollywood Brown to a question.
You've grown so much.
I like Hollywood Brown. I don't like the Ravens.
I know. They're not the fun. They're not as sexy for fantasy. That is definitely for sure. All right. Speaking of Broncos Cowboys. 9.5-point favorites, and Dak's hopeful return. 49.5 is the game total. While we sit at Dallas is a perfect 7-0 against the spread this year. Denver is even at 4-4. Look, Dallas has been one of the best bright spots this season. Outside of the Rams, Rams I think we kind of expected. The Cardinals have taken a huge leap, but Dallas is massive leap from the defense. What the defense has been taking and what the offense is putting out there. Denver really hasn't been the same since that 3-0 start. Well, I like Dallas 9.5.
Start was against bad teams.
Yeah, and they also just beat up on bad teams. JD said, I appreciate you boys. I won on a Brown and a Hail Mary bid in my guillotine league. That is fucking
awesome.
That is amazing. I love it. Brown he's a lot of those this year. As Jackson has decided to just be more and more vertical, which is yay for everybody. Again, Dallas, I like 9.5. Perfect 7-0 against the spread. I like that to be continued. Game total again. This one you may. That's one I can see you leaning over. Right, Denver being forced to throw more. While the defense can be very opportunistic in Dallas, they can definitely give up a lot of yards. And this may be the time where Denver, given a good wide receiver trio, which they have, should be able to find an end zone a couple times.
All right, from a fantasy perspective in this one, Denver's got a good defense. So if you're playing Dallas people, you should expect floor games almost across the board. Now, you don't doubt the Dallas offense, though. So, you're not shying away from any of that. So you're good. Zeke, Cooper, CeeDee Lamb. Michael Gallup may return. That is the one thing I do question is how Gallup and Schultz is going to shake out. He did not return last week. But you also had a backup quarterback in Cooper Rush last week. So you had Dalton Schultz target volume go down as well. Those are the two that I'm really watching, and if you want to show a little pause there, that's perfectly okay. But with the tight end landscape being what it is, with Gronk being on bye, Hawk being on bye, you may not have a choice on Dalton Schultz, and that's perfectly fine too. Broncos side of things, Noah Fant is expected to miss, so Albert O is a guy that I am definitely looking at as a streamer, and we just talked about the receivers. So the other thing we need to touch about is on the running backs here. Melvin Gordon has been getting the touchdown volume. Javonte Williams has been hyper efficient, and they're seeing his 50-50 split. Dallas's defense has been pretty good. I don't know that you can expect. If I'm leaning one way, it's Gordon because he has been getting the red zone looks. And other than that, both of these guys are giving you floor because they're eating into each other's workload so much. They've both been good in their own right, but because they've been seeing basically a 50-50 split, there's been no advantage one way or another to really take advantage of that. Biggest advantage is touchdowns. Those have been going Gordon's way.
Love it.
He saw 2 last week. and won the week before. Receiving touchdowns, mind you.
Yes. Vikings at Ravens. Ravens are 6-point favorites. 49.5 is the game total. Both teams are 3-4 against the spread this year. Vikings are riding their 1-3 over the last 4 weeks. Baltimore is at every other pace. Every other game. It's been a rotating missing, hitting. They missed last week against Cincy. Obviously, they got their ass kicked, or 2 weeks ago. Obviously, got their ass kicked as a 6.5-point favorites against them when they're at home. I expect to bounce back from this. Team is healthier than it's probably been all season. Sans week 1. Well, Watkins isn't expected to play. Bateman's, I expect his role to increase as he is firmly removed from the injury that plagued him to start the year, and I think we're going to see him integrated even more so in this offense against the soft Vikings defense that just lost Danielle Hunter for the season, best pass rusher. Ravens 6 points at home. Game total, I can see it hitting over. It just depends what kind of Cousins we get.
It's all right. Ronnie posted his game recap, and I'm pointed out my hobbled team, and I'm pretty sure I'm starting like another one of our league mates at tight end in that league this week. So before we get onto this game now, I got to tell you about this team real quick. I'm a little drunk, so I'm going all over the place here.
Love it.
I lost Derrick Henry to injury.
Yep.
I got Chris Carson on IR.
Oof.
We got DeAndre Swift on bye. I have Calvin Ridley on that roster, who just stepped back. Aaron Rodgers is my quarterback on that team. It gets worse. Logan Thomas was my starting tight end.
Oh, boy.
I replaced him with Ricky Seals-Jones. They're on bye. Hold on. There is 100% more to this team. Let's see. Aaron Rodgers in COVID, so I can finally IR him. Derrick Henry on IR. Chris Carson on IR. Leonard Fournette's on bye. DeAndre Swift is on bye. Calvin Ridley stepped back. Allen Robinson was another one of my wide receivers on this team who has been completely terrible. I am running backs out there named Mark Ingram and Jordan Howard this week.
God, is this 2015?
Rashad Bateman and David Njoku have drawn into my lineup. Derek Carr is starting for me at quarterback.
Oh, God. At least they get a favorable matchup against the Giants.
That is where this team is. Like I am doing I'm in the playoffs right now with all of that. I am doing a masterful job at managing this team, but oh my God, is it bad? It is difficult, man.
That's so much fun.
It is. When you were talking about teams that couldn't fill the full lineup, this is one of those teams. I'm out there plucking whoever might have value off of waivers to put running backs in that lineup.
You're sitting there putting waiver claims when Phillip Rivers is just waiting.
Yeah.
Just waiting to see if he goes to New Orleans.
The other problem is that it's a league that only has one IR spot other than COVID IR spots, right? It's one regular and 3 COVID spots.
JD said, "Can you?" He asked you if you want to start from a running back in the fan league.
Sure. I can absolutely do that.
I haven't even gone through it. I haven't even looked through my lineups.
Williams
I don't
in the sleeper lineup.
Derek Gore. Just go pick up names like Derek Gore and Over the Hill Peterson and
it's bad, man.
I'm gonna be picking up Jordan Howard again. I can't. Jordan Howard.
I've got Ridley out, Carson on IR, Henry on IR. My IR spot right now is held by Logan Thomas.
Who is back to your redraft? Who is their earliest draft pick that isn't hurt?
For me?
Yeah. Is there Robinson for you in that league? You lost Henry, you lost Ridley. You lost Carson, who all three of them easily went ahead.
Carson, Rodgers. It might be Allen Robinson. Yeah.
Which is probably around 4 or 5.
Actually, the only people I drafted that are in here right now are Hunter Renfrow, Christian Kirk, and T. Higgins.
Oh, that's right. Okay, Higgins. Okay. So, Jesus.
Everything else is... And Robinson I drafted ahead of Higgins.
Yeah, it's probably...
Those are
your first 3 or 4 picks right there.
Everything else here is a waiver wire pickup. Derek Carr, Mark Ingram, Jordan Howard. No, Renfro I didn't draft either. He was a waiver wire pickup. David Njoku, Rashad Bateman. My kicker is a second is a top 5 draft pick starting in that lineup this week, and Tyler Bass.
I can't wait for you to give your acceptance speech when you win the championship in Ronnie's league. You're gonna be thanking Jordan Howard. You're gonna be dating back your thank yous to 2015 versions of Mark Ingram and Jordan Howard.
If I make the playoffs in that league, I deserve a manager of the
playoffs.
I deserve coach of the year if I make the playoffs in that league.
Manager of the year.
Yeah.
Fantasy manager of the year goes
Fantasy manager
here.
of the year if I make. Okay, what? Oh, I heard Kirk Cousins. Vikings, Ravens. Right.
Yes.
Vikings are chalk as they always are. Ravens, Hollywood Brown, Rashad Bateman are fine streamers. I'm telling you, Rashad Bateman's a fine streamer because I really need him to be. That game should be higher scoring though. They're fine streamers. What I'm not sure of there is the Ravens running backs. Devonta Freeman's kind of been leading that running back group, but he also hasn't seen more than 10 carries. So
I'm also betting on him. He's the pass catcher, and
he is the pass catcher.
And thank God Jackson's kind of been getting his running backs more involved from a consistency standpoint. So again, Freeman, not sexy.
It's not sexy, but you probably will. Look, you don't have Leonard Fournette, DeAndre Swift this week. Chris Carson's still out. Kareem Hunt is still out. Like, Edwards-Helaire is still out. You don't have a lot of options at running back right now. So Devonta Freeman is fine.
I can't wait for somebody to win with. I can't wait for you to win with Mark Ingram and Jordan Howard, and I cannot wait to see somebody win with the likes of Jeremy McNichols, Derek Gore, and like fucking or Damien or not Damien, or with like Khalil Herbert, just fucking names like you just drew them out of a hat and said good luck. All right. Panthers are favored, or Patriots are favored 3.5 points on the road. 41.5 is the game total at even here. Record against the spread so far, both teams are 4-4 even. Trend wise, you're looking at New England's got back-to-back covers. The Panthers haven't covered since their 3-week stretch to start the season, so not looking too straight.
You're also looking at B.J. Walker playing this game instead of Sam Darnold.
This is probably a game that is likely to change once we get more of the Darnold news. If you're going to bet the Patriots, this is probably where you want to get them. This line isn't taken into account. Walker is the presumed starter. Expect that to move down probably another 2 to 3 points to the 5.5, 6.5, maybe 7 point range for the Patriots. And I like
PJ Walker, but if he's got to play a Belichick defense and what he does to rookie quarterbacks or young quarterbacks or quarterbacks that don't have a lot of experience, that's going to be pretty oof.
And I don't think McCaffrey's supposed to be back.
No, they opened his practice window, but I don't think he's supposed to play.
I like the under, even at 41.
Yep.
So no McCaffrey potentially. Walker is fine, but he has not been very good. Mm-hmm. And New England has kind of caught them at the right time. So
yeah. Defensive streamers in this game, absolutely go for it. But
go for it.
As far as offensive production goes here, look, Damian Harris is on a tear. I like him. If you need floor, you're okay with Jacoby Myers. I don't expect that to be a blow-up game for him, though. So really it's Damian Harris, Chuba Hubbard, and DJ Moore in this game, and I don't like anything else. It's the other reason why this week is so tough. Not only do you have injuries and bye weeks to contend with, you also have some mediocre matchups to contend with.
Yeah, this is this part of the season combined with the injuries is just it can be devastating. That's again some of the luck factor that plays into it. A lot of it is just surviving these middle parts and then hopefully making the right moves, to get yourself situated for a championship or, for a playoff, the championship run.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad that there's not a lot of great games in the noon window because I get to watch one of the games I want to watch.
Speaking of the game you're about to watch, Bills at Jacksonville.
Jaguars.
Bills are 14.5-point favorites. The over-under is at 48.5. This is the highest game total on the week. Bills are 4-2-1 against the spread.
Because the Bills are going to score 42.
That's right. Bills are 4-2-1 against the spread this season. Jacksonville's 2-5. Bills have covered all but one game dating back to their blowout win against the Dolphins. Look, 14.5 points is a hefty point total to cover on the road, by no less. They've looked very impressive this season. They've also got off to a slow start against Miami, was still able to find a way to cover there barely. No, I'm sorry, they didn't cover. They pushed that one. Still find a way to push in that game. If they get off to a slow start on the road, Jacksonville could easily cover this. But again, turnover problems has been all over the place. Likely just going to avoid this game. Maybe, tease it down to that 8.5 where it's, not so horrible, but likely just going to avoid this game from a betting standpoint.
Yep, and from a fantasy standpoint, you're not avoiding this game, at least on the Bills side. They're not going to take their foot off the gas. If you got a Bill, well, okay, hold on. I'm going to walk that back a little bit. It's a great Zach Moss game.
Hopefully.
Should be a really good Zach Moss game. Solid Josh Allen game. You hope Dawson Knox is back. We'll see. Bills should cakewalk this, so I'm not interested in their secondary receivers. Even Diggs has had kind of a down year, but I don't know how you sit him. On the Jacksonville side of this, James Robinson is dealing with injuries. Pay attention to Twitter, and once again, check out our buddies over at the Fantasy Headliners because we won't be here this Sunday. I'll be at this game with all your start-sit questions. And for latest injury news, James Robinson is dealing with injuries on this. Dan Arnold is about the only thing I can look at in the Jaguars and say, I'm excited to start that. And that's pretty bad. Because Chenault has not been taking advantage of the opportunity afforded to him. Marvin Jones has fallen off. Jamal Agnew has been the most productive wide receiver the last couple weeks.
Who would have thunk that? He's taken over the slot role primarily away from Chenault, obviously with the lots of Chark, move Chenault more on that primary outside role. And as we're seeing, they have Lawrence has have favored kind of the easier matchup dependency.
Right. You have both running backs injured here too, by the way. Hyde is also dealing with injuries. So, basically, I'm gonna go to the tailgate with Paul Postlesny and get really drunk, and then I'm gonna go into this game and be rocking a Blake Bortles jersey, cheering for the Jaguars, but secretly cheering for the Bills because I know that they're going to kick their ass. That's why I picked this game, is because I want to watch Josh Allen play in person.
It'll be fun.
Because I got to pick the date that we did this, and as I was looking at the Jaguars' schedule, this is the one. It was right here. I wanted to see Diggs and Allen in person. So
I don't blame you. Not at all. All right. Let's keep trucking this along. Browns at Bengals. Bengals 2.5-point favorites. Over-under is at an even 47. Bengals are against the spread record for each team this year. Both of them are sitting at a 4-4 even. Bengals, both teams have kind of just been back and forth on it. It's almost a true pick'em game. Bengals coming off of the disappointing loss to the Jets. Browns just haven't figured out their offense. The team has become a bit of a distraction. I like Bengals in the bounce back and covering this 2.5 game total. I'm scared of because we quite haven't seen a good offensive put. It's just an offense explosion from Cleveland since the running back injuries. And while Nick Chubb is back, it's clear that he's missing his boo cream hunt. So Bengals maybe even lean the under on this one, as it's Bengals improved defense, and I'd like to bounce back against their AFC rival, their in-state rival.
Game of the week. Hands down, game of the week. For the Browns, Kareem Hunt's still not going to be back. Dearness Johnson still has value there. Nick Chubb is back. Obviously, the running backs are where the Browns are going to make their hay. I'm streaming David Njoku a couple places because I don't have a choice. So, if you want to join me and root for that with me, feel free. Sujay Uzama, you could also make the same argument for. Bengals, start them all.
Love it. The Falcons at the Saints. Saints 6.5-point favorites with a possible returning of Taysom Hill and Trevor Siemian.
Oh, shit. You know who we didn't talk about that's not returning at all, ever? Michael Thomas. We forgot
Thomas
about that.
and James. And we forgot about Jameis.
We'll
talk about him here.
Jameis, too. Wow.
Yeah, so we'll go through
there was a lot that fucking happened, right?
Yeah, so we'll go through the betting here real quick because there's not much to talk about. Again, Saints 6.5-point favorites. Game total is at 41.5. I'm not betting on a third-string quarterback making his first start in umpteenth years, even if they're at home, improved defense. I want nothing to do with this game from a betting standpoint. So take it away with the news that we totally forgot on accident.
All right, the news we totally forgot on accident. Jameis Winston is done for the season. He tore up his knee. I think it was ACL with some damage to the PCL as well. So he is done for the year. Taysom Hill in concussion protocol. Sean Payton is being pretty mum about that, saying that basically he's on track. Doesn't say what he's on track for, just that he's on track. Trevor Siemian came out and played a solid game last week. The Falcons are a very, very beatable team. Look, the Saints are not doing anything through the receiving game, though. It's all defense in the running game. So, Mark Ingram, if you're looking for streams, he saw more touches than I think he did most of the year at Houston, with a bit more efficiency. You got the 1-2 punch of him and Kamara back as he gets more acclimated to this. On the Falcons side of things, we already talked about them in the interim. I mean, they're going to have to throw. And you're looking Kyle Pitts and Cordero Patterson here. Mike Davis is also fine in this one. I expect this to be more low scoring. But it's not going to be sexy by any means.
I almost like the Falcons to cover this. I wouldn't even be shocked if they went out and won this game. If I know they're not good defensively and Peyton can get the most out of his quarterbacks, but
Payton's been getting the most out of his whole team. I hate to say it, but Sean Payton's done a masterful coaching job here.
I mean, he was able to. I mean, he hasn't let Jameis let loose, but that's been probably for net positive in his eyes as the turnovers have cut down tremendously.
He's been hyper efficient in touchdowns. We've seen him win with Taysom Hill. So
maybe the under, even at 41.5, which is the lowest on the week.
I like the under.
Second lowest on the week.
The under could be 12. Like the over/under could have been 12, but I would like the under here.
You can alt spread it to a very low number and get great odds.
Scoregami, has there been a 3-0 game?
Oh yeah, there has been. You got to get to the weird, obscure. Like, how did a team get to 23?
How did they score 6.5 points? 23 is easy.
I know, but
how did they score 6.5 points?
6.5. Wait, when was that?
I don't know how you score half a point.
I don't know. Maybe weird rules back in the day. All right, Raiders at the Giants. Raiders are 3-point favorites. 46 is the game total. Is the even game, or it's the game total is even? What's that?
We're still on noon games.
Yeah, we're almost done with them. I think this is the last noon game.
How the?
A lot of new games this week.
No, I mean, I'm looking at the Monday night game and I'm wondering how the fuck is that the Monday night game?
No, probably look better on paper. That's a complete lie. They should really allow flex scheduling, even though you can't flex out Monday night. This is rough. Almost bad as the Seahawks. What was the game a couple weeks ago? It was right when Russell. It was Seahawks Saints. That was also fucking ugly. There was like 20 points total scored. Anyways, Raiders at the Giants. Raiders are 3-point favorites on the road. 46 even is the game total. Raiders are 4-3 against the spread this year. Giants are even at 4-4. Raiders, both teams have covered back-to-back weeks. Yeah. I don't trust the Raiders. They like to give up leads or they like to get behind early, even though they haven't really done it the last couple weeks.
Damn it, they're leading their division.
They're leading their division somehow. I don't trust either team. I mean, it's Raiders to cover. More of a lean. I'm not excited to bet it. I'm sure it's not as exciting to even talk about the fantasy implications too.
The Raiders are a lot easier to go with. Josh Jacobs, basically, if you got a Raider that's been fantasy relevant this week, you can probably plug him in. The only one I'm a little mum on is Kenyon Drake, but Kenyon Drake, I think, he's such an enigma to me, man. I love Kenyon Drake. First off, you know that.
I know.
And he's an awesome guy. We got to meet him and actually talk to him. He's a great guy. And he does nothing but produce when he's given the opportunity. But he has problems getting the opportunity. Like, they didn't have Peyton Barber active, and Josh Jacobs goes down last game, and all he does is go off. So it's hard for me to say that you don't want Kenyon Drake in your fantasy lineup because, I mean, he's earned the right to cut into Josh Jacobs' work a little more, right? With the efficiency, I would think.
He gets the pass catching work here. I mean, that's what we like the most.
But he gets the pass catching work. But if he cuts into Jacobs, so I think you're okay with both running backs here. Darren Waller should be good to go after he missed a game early or before the bye week. He'll be fine. He should get the majority of the passing work. We talked about Hunter Renfrow. He's the Raiders wide receiver 1. You start him. It's on the sign behind me. Maybe someday that won't be something about Hunter Renfrow, but it's just been a lot easier to change the message around the same player.
We're never going to change it. This is a pro Hunter Renfrow show.
Hunter Renfrow. And the Giants is tough because you don't know who's going to be on the field. And I feel like we've been saying that a lot. By the way, something we didn't talk about that I feel like needs addressed. Did you see the Joe Judge headset bullshit?
Oh, yeah. Joke. Jesus Christ.
The Giants are the Mets.
Are
the Mets. The Giants are a goddamn joke. Well, we did that because there was a miscommunication to with the headsets, and the league needs to look into their faulty hardware. No, dude, you just suck at this. Oh my God! And
he might be one and done.
And I don't know what's going on. I don't know how New York is so goddamn dysfunctional with everything, right? I mean, the Jets, the Giants, the Mets. At least the Yankees are pretty functional most of the time. But holy crap, I've never seen a more dysfunctional sports city, and I root for Chicago teams. But the Giants, I literally cannot give fantasy analysis other than Daniel Jones is okay because Barkley's got the COVID fiasco going on, and he's still got the ankle injury. So even if he gets through the COVID thing, you don't know if he's going to play with the ankle injury. Sure as hell sounds like it because the focus is on COVID right now, but you really have no idea. And Sterling Shepard's likely to be out multiple weeks again because for some reason nobody on the Giants can stay healthy. Kenny Golladay is still hurt. Kadarius Toney is dealing with yet another injury. Dante Pettis is healthy. Start Dante Pettis. Fuck it.
Fuck it. That's the fucking call of the week.
Fucking call of the week is Dante
fucking
Pettis
call
again
of the
because
week.
New York's
Dante
likely
Pettis.
to be missing 19 people. I have no idea what you do with the goddamn Giants.
I don't think anyone does.
Have they won a game? Well, they have won a game.
Yeah.
Just
They almost beat the Chiefs.
Well, the Chiefs
But I feel like anyone's almost beating the Chiefs. Yeah.
More on that in a minute when they play the Jordan Love-led Packers.
Love it. But before we get to there, Chargers at the Eagles. Chargers 2.5-point favorites on the road. Over-under is at a flat, even 50.
Jesus, they're only 2.5 points?
Yeah. This game has gone. The spread's gone from between 3 and 1.5. It's been all over the place.
What does Vegas know that we don't?
I have no clue. I mean, the Chargers, speaking of dysfunction, I mean, the Chargers haven't had a good Herbert's struggle. The team in itself has not looked completely right before and after this Ravens game. So after a hot start in terms of betting against the spread, the Chargers have given up. Have lost are 0-2 the last 2 weeks. I don't think anyone really wants to bet the Eagles. That team is massively dysfunctional. If there is there's a team that could potentially help the Chargers get back on the right track, even on the road. Philadelphia is not the worst team to draw. And I think a lot of people are expecting this bounce back. So I expect this line to kind of creep back up to that 3 spot. Over-under seems a lot of fun, but both defenses at times can look good, look suspect in others. I like the Chargers to bounce back, get back to the covering ways.
It's a good bounce back for the Chargers. I completely agree with you on that front. Austin Eckler is dealing with being bumped up and banged up. If he plays, you start him. You're okay with Herbert. Mike Williams, after a hot start, has kind of fallen off a little bit. So, again, I expect this to be a get-right game, though. So if you got a Charger, go for it.
Throw him out there. Just play him all that's relevant.
Mike Williams has fallen off, but this is a very good get-right scenario. Keenan Allen, add him to the list of 2 or 3 wide receivers that has been relatively disappointing.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you get the rise of Mike Williams, and then you get the resume drop off from Herbert here over the past few weeks, Allen kind of fits
he's disappointment.
Yeah, he's fit himself. They kind of rotate. They both don't seem to blow up in the same game.
Yep. Now, the big takeaway here is the Eagles running backs. Miles Sanders is still out. There's no chance he plays, from what I've seen.
He's still on IR.
He's still on IR, so
can't play.
What you got was a Boston Scott and Jordan Howard split, and ride that. They're both startable.
Yeah. Which means Gainwell is going to lead the backfield in targets because
everybody was on Gainwell and he did not a goddamn thing. So
he didn't do a goddamn thing after being the easy to see backup. I don't want to start any of them.
Well, the Eagles also beat the Lions 44-6, right? So this may be more of a Gainwell game because I don't expect them to put up that number on the Chargers. Gainwell got game scripted out. The game script could.
Gainwell wasn't even the starter though. I mean, it was Boston Scott. If you're going to play any running back, I'd probably play Boston Scott.
Well, Boston Scott's going to be the starter, but I think that there is an argument in game script between Jordan Howard and Kenny Gainwell, right? When
sure,
beat
that
the
I
Lions
can see. Yes.
44-6, and Gainwell is more of a pass catcher than anything.
This is going to be this hot hand approach.
You're not going.
It's going to be like ugly.
It.
No one's going to be excited to play any of these backs because you're going to always predict the wrong.
Fuck it, start of the week, number 2, start Kenny Gainwell.
Fuck it, start of the week, Kenny Gainwell.
Because I think the game script leans a little bit more towards Gainwell in this one than Jordan Howard. Although Jordan Howard and Boston Scott split touches too, so who the hell knows? Start them all.
I don't want to know.
Start them all.
Start them all.
Because the running back situation is terrible right now.
Fuck it, start them all.
Speaking of
all right.
Fuck it, start them all. Moving on, Packers at the Chiefs.
Chiefs at home. 7.5-point favorites in light of the Aaron Rodgers
out
really for next. COVID news.
Was that really next? I just guessed.
It is next. 47.5 is the game total. I expect this number. I didn't expect it to hit this high this soon. I thought it'd maybe be at the 5.5, 6 mark, and then it gets bumped up to the 7.5 by Sunday. I expect it to kind of sit in this zone. Chiefs has been disappointed as fuck, though. They are 2-6 against the spread this year. Well, Green Bay is a flat, easy 7-1. Obviously, we have to take their record against the spread out the window due to Rodgers not playing. So, yeah, it's a good draw for Jordan Love's first game. This is obviously a very disappointing Chiefs team, and the playmakers should be coming back. All the receivers should be coming back for Love at the perfect time. I'm not betting this game. I think smart money is going to all be on the Chiefs. I won't be surprised if this spread rises to 8.5, 9. Just some absurd number to where no one's predicting the Packers to cover anything, and then you just kind of last second bet the Packers once that West Coast money comes in. So 40.5 is the game total. Again, you have to trust that Green Bay's offense can produce. Green Bay already is running a very slow pace offense with Rodgers. I don't expect that to change. It may actually get worse. I think the only way for Green Bay to win this game is to have a massive advantage in the time of possession department, and that's going to be done by a lot of running the football and letting Jordan Love throw short, efficient throws and hoping your playmakers make plays. Never putting them in the 3rd and 5 situations, 3rd and long situations. So I don't see how Green Bay wins this game, but I have no clue if the Chiefs can cover. They haven't done it all year.
You just hit the nail on the head with the time of possession thing in the running game, and that's going to bridge nicely into what I'm going to say. So Aaron Jones has had a lackluster season for the most part, right? Based on what you'd normally expect out of Aaron Jones. This is the game with the backup quarterback in, and the Packers really needing to control the time of possession to beat the Chiefs, where Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon are absolutely plug-in and starts, and the potential really for them to actually blow up for the first time this season. You're not sitting Devontae Adams and Jordan Love against a bad defense is a fine streamer. You have to trust that what we've seen out of Jordan Love, he has not been bad. For as maligned as the pick was and the way that it went down and the situation of the team, Jordan Love has been fine. So, in the limited amount that we've seen him, which is mostly preseason. But he does have legs.
That's good. He does.
Yeah.
He's got legs, guys.
Typically,
breaking news. Jordan Love's got legs.
Typically, we like our quarterbacks to have legs.
I mean, I'm sure Lieutenant Dan can do a great Mike White impression.
And
Mike White might be the only quarterback that doesn't really need legs.
No, you just put him out there in a really high, on like a bar stool, and he can throw it.
He's got enough upper body strength to get it done.
Yeah.
You don't need no legs.
As long as you can twist the hips, right? Make it swivel.
I love that Jordan Love's best player, his best comparable and player profiler is Dan Orlovsky. You see that Dan Orlovsky retweeted somebody not tweeting at him, he wasn't tagged, but making a comment based on Jordan Love, his best comparable is to him, and he quote retweeted it. God, it was.
Dan Orlovsky has a lot of self-awareness, and he's very intelligent.
I don't like him too much, but this was a rare W for
No.
him.
It was the Justin Fields thing that made you not like him too much. Everything else about Dan Orlovsky is likable, other than his NFL play too. You don't like him because of the Justin Field things, and a lot of people don't like him because of Justin Fields. Look, if everybody decided to hate me because I did one thing they didn't like,
I mean, I also just don't pay attention to Dan Orlovsky.
No, I do because he's friends with Pat McAfee, and I've heard his interviews on that show and everything, and he's pretty pretty self-aware. He's pretty hilarious. He's very intelligent with his quarterback breakdowns and everything, as a lot of backup QBs are. Like, backup quarterbacks, the intelligence a lot of times outweighs the talent.
They have to, man. Yeah. That's their primary role. It's to break a lot of that shit down and work with the starter.
Yeah, he's very intelligent, and again, the self-awareness of him making fun of
this made me like him more. I will honestly, this is a great W for him. I thought that was fucking hysterical.
Yeah. Anyway, you're okay with the Jordan Love's tweet. The Chiefs, we say chalk for the Chiefs every week because they don't have a lot else, but Travis Kelce's really been down lately.
You're still playing them.
But, yeah, you're still playing your chalk players for the Chiefs. The Chiefs, the problem with the Chiefs, a lot of it, other than the defense, is just that chalk is chalk with them, right? And now, all of a sudden, chalk with Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce is not getting it done. Now, if you play in the time of possession game, you mentioned Derek Gore in just. Look, the problem with
It's
Derek
not
Gore
good.
is that
There's
it's
no-
not in just.
no.
You actually should probably pick up Derek Gore because him and Darrell Williams are splitting. But you're also going to still start Darrell Williams because he's a
They're
starting
not
running
really
back.
splitting, though. I mean, Derek Gore saw 19.5% of the snaps, just 2 routes run. I mean, what stood out is the 6 red zone carries.
That's what it is. He's trying to punch it in.
But yeah,
But
I
Darrell
mean,
Williams
this
is the guy.
this is a tough bet. I mean, this is a tough one to bet. I mean, I don't know. You're
Look,
betting
if
on
you're
a
desperate
touchdown.
enough for Derek Gore, you might as well. If you're desperate enough to pick up Derek Gore, you better start Derek Gore.
I'm probably playing him in a league in some of my deeper
I
dynasty
am
leagues
not,
this
but
week
I'm
that
damn
I'm
sure
not.
playing Darrell Williams in the listener league because he was sitting on my damn roster because those rosters are shit. For the
Fucking
most part.
start number 3, Derek Gore. Fuck it, start number 3.
We got Darrell Williams going there. Fucking start number 3, Derek Gore. Fucking starts of the week should just be a segment. Right now we've got what?
We have just created a new segment midway through
We've
the
got
season. It's a
Dante
fucking starts
Pettis, Derek Gore, and who was the other one? There was a third one in there. Someplace.
Kenneth Gainwell.
Kenneth Gainwell. That was
The
it.
Lord himself, Lord Kenneth Gainwell.
Where
Oh
did
my
Lord
God, I
come
love
from?
it.
Is he actually like knighted or something? Is he a lord?
No, he's not. I'm the only one that calls him that.
Oh. That's fucking
I don't care.
disappointing. By
We're
the way,
gonna-
if kids
we're
are
gonna make it
listening,
work.
I apologize. This show is totally off the rails.
We're almost done.
By
We're
the way,
almost
is it
done.
wrong that I saw memories of my blackout drunk show from a couple years ago? Is it wrong
Oh,
that I want to
no.
get that level of drunk again and do this?
I mean, that's all on you, boo boo.
I
It's
feel
all
like
on
the
you.
bourbon
All right.
shows are the better shows.
I do. I haven't done one in a while. I've been wanting to crack open into this handpicked private select, but I'm waiting to share it with you before I crack into it.
Just
But
work down here one
we'll
day
see.
and do a show.
yeah, it's true.
We can disc golf too.
Yep. All right. 3 games left. Let's fucking power through this. Cardinals at the Niners. This game has been flip-flopping between pick'ems and 1 point in favor of the Cardinals. Look, a lot of this is going to hinge on whether Kyler Murray plays or not. From the sounds of it, he's a true 50-50 split here, which is going to sway this line all over the place. Again, these are the games you don't want to predict. You don't want to try to bet because, I mean, you're not getting a big favor in either direction. I mean, unless you want to lean the home team, plus 102 at this point on FanDuel. It's the 49ers. 45.5 is the game total. I'll probably lean the under unless we get confirmation that Murray's going to play and that he's more than 60% healthy. Other than that, I'm kind of staying away. Cardinals have been good this year against the spread at 6-2. Obviously didn't cover the Green Bay spread when they were 6.5-point favorites, but it hasn't been, they've been great for the rest of the year. San Francisco's at 2-5. Not the best to bet with. So I guess if you want to lean somebody based on what they've done this year, Cardinals. Otherwise, I'm just not going to bet this game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Samuel's been a monster. He's banged up yet again, but he's been an absolute monster. There's no way you're not playing him. Elijah Mitchell's a clear lead back. Jeff Wilson did enter his return to service window, we'll call it. So Jermichael Hasty entering his return to service window didn't do anything. So I'll have to see if they have Jeff Wilson somehow ahead of Wilson was ahead of Hasty, right? So I'll have to see if Wilson's somehow ahead of Mitchell when that happens. But right now, Elijah Mitchell's the guy for San Francisco. It's an okay stream matchup for Jimmy Garoppolo too, honestly. Kyler Murray not practicing. Kingsbury has said he does not need to practice. DeAndre Hopkins not practicing. Christian Kirk right now is the guy that you're probably looking at running out there more so. But this is one of those things where we're going to tell you, tune into our buddies over at the Headliners on Sunday because we won't be here to figure out what the hell's going on with the Cardinals because right now they are also very, very injured. What I will say is this, the running backs for the Cardinals have both been very, very startable most weeks as far as Chase Edmonds and James Conner go. Conner's managed to stay healthy in more of a limited role. I think that the Cardinals have found something that has worked for him. They're both startable.
I agree. All right, Sunday Night Football. Titans at the Rams. Rams are 7.5-point favorites. Game total sits at a cool 53.5. This is the highest game total on the slate. Titans has been on a tear when it comes to covering the spread over the last 6 weeks, and they sit at a 6-2 record. Rams are at a 4-4 even. Look, we don't know what the Titans are going to look like now with Henry being gone. We got into that pretty heavy here earlier on in the show when we broke down the Derrick Henry injury. If you want to go back, listen to it, just go back in the show. We're not going to rehash it here. Betting wise, again, though, this is a lot of points. The Rams have disappointed at times. Stands a 4-4 against the spread record. I kind of like the Titans to still cover here. Keep that streak going. While the loss of Henry is obviously a big one, the expectation is that this offense could still be able to go, especially if we are to believe that this is a playoff caliber team. They should be able to overcome this. Well, maybe not pretty at times. I do expect them to cover. So I'll take the Titans at plus 7.5. Game total, I think, could be high. It just depends on how well the passing game responds to the loss of Henry and to more of a focus onto them. But if we expect the Titans to cover, I think we can also expect this game to have some points to it. So I feel pretty good about the over as well.
Yeah, the Titans are it's gonna be interesting to see what the Titans are. We talked about them potentially throwing a little bit more, and how that benefits AJ Brown way back like an hour and a half, 2 hours ago is when we talked about that. But
it's been 84 years.
It's been 84 years since we had that conversation. McNichols and Adrian Peterson. You're curious to see what Adrian Peterson's role is. Whatever it is, you expect it to grow from this week, right? He's coming off the street. I wouldn't expect him to have a full workload immediately. This is definitely a Jeremy McNichols week. Look, the Titans have the firepower to do this through the air too. You're watching Julio Jones' status. If he can't go, a stream at Nick Westbrook is not out of the question against the Rams, who figure to be putting up points all over the place like they normally do. Rams also going to have their new shiny toy in Von Miller, who should also have a more limited role, but, on and off again, right? Taylor Decker is going to be back for the Titans. So you're going to have an improved offensive line against a good pass rush. This actually should be a very, very good game. I like most offensive pieces here. For the Rams, you're fine with Darrell Henderson. Cooper Kupp, obviously, is otherworldly. There's no way you sit him right now. Robert Woods, after a slow start, has been very, very good. As long as he's healthy, there is no way you sit him right now. Van Jefferson, they've targeted him a lot over the top. Tennessee does not have a good defense. Could even get away with the Van Jefferson stream. That's fuck it. Start of the week, number 4 is Van Jefferson.
I love that call. I don't think it needs a true fuck it statement.
Start of the week. I think it's just a good analytical call to play Van Jefferson against a bad Titans defense in what should be a high-scoring game. It's a guy that they like to target downfield.
And there's literally no one there that should take him off the field. Tutu Atwell, who wasn't doing much anyways, in an IR, and Deshaun Jackson's been released.
Yes.
And those are
so he's going to be on
Jackson was the only one holding him back.
Yep. So, you've got some deep cuts this week with Jeremy McNichols, Nick Westbrook, Van Jefferson. Like, this is a game where you can absolutely make up some of your starting roster spots if you need to. So, that's where I'm at.
All right, final game. Bears at Steelers. Steelers are 6.5-point favorites at home. Lowest point total of the week, sitting at an even 40 points. Both teams have not fared particularly well against the spread. Bears are 3-5 on the season. Pittsburgh's 3-4. Bears have particularly struggled on the road over the last 6 games, are 1-5 as underdogs, 1-3 as road underdogs. Look, I don't like this environment for this team. Pittsburgh's pass rush is very good. You get a bad O-line for Chicago with a rookie who's still kind of figuring shit out. Things looked good last week in spots. I don't think he's quite there. Well, Pittsburgh's offense is definitely not great, and Chicago's defense is definitely good enough to hold them. I think Pittsburgh, this is a grind them out game where it looks kind of even throughout, and the Pittsburgh pulls away by that, fourth quarter time. A lot from what we saw from San Francisco last week against the Bears. One crucial turnover can really flip this game. So I'll take the points in Pittsburgh at home. Game total, it's one of those things where it's almost too low, but this could really be one of those, it's 17-10 games, just something that just both offenses don't look particularly good. But the game eventually goes in Pittsburgh's favor. So I'm for sure going Pittsburgh on the spread, and then I guess lean the over under at 40. I guess you can lean under. Excuse me.
Yeah, I would lean under on this one too. Look, this is not a game that I am totally in love with. Pittsburgh wide receivers, the Bears secondary is trash other than Jalen Johnson. Should have a Johnson on Johnson matchup. Johnson and Johnson. No, I like Johnson more on Claypool. So Deontay should be able to feast here a little bit. Look, Najee Harris, there's no way you're sitting. He's Pittsburgh's best weapon. But I think you're the two wide receivers for Pittsburgh with Najee Harris. For the Bears, Khalil Herbert's been matchup proof, and David Montgomery is not expected back until at least week 10 in practice and everything. So Khalil Herbert, I don't see how you sit him right now, as good as he's been. He's been very, very matchup proof. He blew up against the Bucs, so I'm not scared of the Steelers. Bucs have one of the best run defenses in the NFL.
Yep.
I don't know that there's anything else I like from the Bears. I cannot recommend an Allen Robinson start. Cannot recommend a Justin Fields start, although he does seem to have figured out how to use his leg. It's not been consistent enough. The only thing I can recommend from the Bears is Khalil Herbert.
Yeah, and even then, I mean, look, obviously we're excited about.
By the way,
pretty good against the Bucs.
If I may keep with some victory laps here.
Sure.
If you don't mind.
I mean, I don't think it matters either way.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm definitely gonna do it regardless.
That's good to say. I'm glad you asked me for permission, but I'm fully expecting you to do it anyways.
What the fuck?
What are you doing over there?
I'm trying to get to where I want to be in this document. Because Khalil Herbert is a guy that I watched. I know Khalil Herbert's a guy that I watched. There he is. Khalil Herbert, redshirt senior, 5'9", 210. Good burst, above average vision, good processing speed, doesn't miss holes or cutbacks. Stiff arm is a plus. Good balance through contact, rarely going down with arm tackles or on the first hit. Showcases consistent ability to get to the second level. Does return kicks and showcases some agility. Age is going to be a concern as he came into the league at 23 years old. Doesn't have breakaway speed, a bit slow to change direction on his cutbacks. Didn't profile well from burst or agility. Not really utilized in the receiving game, but overall was one of my favorite guys this week that could go undrafted or very, very late, especially from the age front, that could produce in the NFL. A lot of positive qualities called out there. Just saying, I don't hype up my draft analysis enough, but my draft analysis is usually pretty damn good.
He's definitely been the lone bright spot since the David Montgomery injury. He's definitely filled in.
Ooh, I had Elijah
very,
Mitchell
very nicely
notes too.
What's that?
I had Elijah Mitchell notes right below that too.
I'm sure you did.
I did. I didn't love.
We're done.
I didn't like Elijah Mitchell as much, so we're not going to make this an Elijah Mitchell victory lap. I won't pretend on that one. I had some good qualities on him, but I do remember liking Khalil Herbert quite a bit, especially when the Bears drafted him. So
I do remember you being excited about Khalil Herbert as
a guy that
as a backup
because he went to a team that
Montgomery.
didn't have a lot of depth. So
yeah, it made sense.
Yeah. And
all right, it's 11 o'clock. That's the show.
We're 2 hours and 40 minutes into
We're 2 hours and 40 minutes into this motherfucker.
You can thank Alabama wide receivers for that.
Thank you. The good, the bad, and the rugs.
Beerfield on Twitter, Beerfield Podcast on YouTube. I am at Beerfield Hop. He is at Beerfield 30. Thank you very much for listening. If you somehow